It's time for Intelligent Machines, a brand new show. Well, it's the same old show, really. We've rebranded This Week in Google. We're going to cover AI, and we've got some interesting stuff to talk about, including Zack Kass, who was the head of go-to-market for OpenAI for a couple of years. He is, by his admission, an AI accelerationist. We'll also talk about the latest AI news. Mike Elgin will be filling in for Paris Martineau. Jeff Jarvis is here. Episode 1 and episode 805 of Intelligent Machines is next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Intelligent Machines, episode 805, recorded Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Doomers, gloomers, bloomers, and zoomers. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new show that's the same old show. This Week in Google, now renamed Intelligent Machines. And let me fill you in a little bit before we introduce our guest and our panelists for the show today. The show is still going to have Paris Martineau and Jeff Jarvis. We're obviously going to continue being as silly as we ever are, but what we're going to try to do is get you some expert information about this rapidly changing world of AI. So every week we're going to start the show with an expert of one form or another. Then we'll talk about AI news. And after that, everything will descend into chaos and become just the same old show it ever was. Jeff Jarvis is here, Professor Emeritus of Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism. You see, that hasn't changed. At the City University of New York, now at Montclair State University and SUNY Stony Brook. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, boss.
Welcome to Intelligent Machines.
I am M.
You are what?
We're M.
I am. Yeah, it's a shorter name. I think it's simpler.
It's like 60 minutes. They always start off with the Ims. We're Ims.
It is Paris's birthday, so she has decided to have a fine meal instead of joining us today. But that's okay, because guess who's with us? Mike Elgin. He's in Sicily right now with his gastronomad adventures. MachineSociety.ai is his newsletter, so it covers AI. So it's a perfect person to have on. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
Thank you, Leo. Glad to be here. Glad to be here on this big change. I think it's
auspicious.
Long overdue.
Well, you were a regular on This Week in Google, but that was back in the days of Google Plus.
Yes.
Old enough to remember.
Times have changed just a little bit. So I think really AI is probably the most important thing to happen in technology. You could say at least since the internet or the advent of the personal computer, but I would say maybe even more than that, more like since the Industrial Revolution or the invention of the printing press, Jeff Jarvis. Anyway, it's a very exciting area. It's changing like crazy, and it's very difficult to understand. Even people working in it, I think, sometimes are puzzled by how AI works. So we're going to bring people on who are working in AI. In fact, next month, the person who coined the term intelligent machines, Ray Kurzweil, will join us. I've interviewed him several times in the past, and I'm very curious what he thinks. He's been saying the singularity was just around the corner, but now that it really feels like it might be, I can't wait to see what Ray has to say. Today, we've got the former head of go-to-market for OpenAI, Zack Kass, worked at OpenAI from 2021 to 2023. It's great to have you. He currently talks to groups and consults with industry about AI and the change that is a-coming. Hi, Zack.
How are you?
It's great to have you. Why did you leave OpenAI? Just out of curiosity.
It's not a story that I used to tell very often, but my parents got sick.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm more willing to tell it now than ever. You can decide if you want to keep it in here, but it occurred to me that I kept talking about this future of abundance and the increasing importance of being human and community, and I wasn't actually honoring my ultimate code, and then said, okay, I grew up in Santa Barbara, by the way. So moving home also.
You went home, basically. Yeah.
I went home. For some other compelling reasons. So I moved home, and my parents are okay now, which is great.
Oh, that's fantastic news.
Wonderful.
Yeah. The story ends well. And I met my now wife.
Even better.
Yeah, so it's. I mean,
you don't have time to have a wife when you're head of go-to-market at OpenAI, I would guess. Wives, what's that? Life, what's that? Why did you? Maybe a better question would be, why did you join OpenAI?
Well, I think that I don't think I could have come up with a reason not to. You know, so many of my friends thought it was a head scratcher because it didn't have a thing to sell at the time. I mean, the GPT-3 had like maybe $2 million in revenue at the time.
It was it was really early in the public.
We had just released GPT-3. Released GPT-3, and Peter Welander, the head of Applied, the VP of Applied, pinged my old boss, Lucas Bewald, now the CEO of Weights and Biases, and Lucas said, "Listen, there's one guy who's ever sold, large language models successfully that I know of, and it's this guy." And they introduced me, and sort of the rest is history. And I would have swept the floors. Like I sort of knew. I mean, I didn't sort of knew. I knew what was going on. So when people are like, "Why did you join?" I was like, "How could I have? How could I have not joined? I probably would have done that job for free."
You have said, would you call yourself an AI accelerationist? You've said AI, as I just said at the beginning of the show, is the most significant invention ever, practically.
I think it's probably fair to label me an accelerationist. I mean, if I'm not willing to call myself that, then I don't think I'm willing to stand by my belief that, I studied history at Berkeley, and if you study history, you realize that the world just gets better all the time. And then if you study computer science, you figure out why. And, like all of the reasons that we should be worried about technology, I get, but like, it is true that technology is the single thing that consistently moves the world forward. And, I certainly believe in its power to continue doing so.
So Reid Hoffman's new book just out, he starts off with a taxonomy of AI thinking. There's doomers, gloomers, bloomers, and what's the fourth? So doomers are the people who think it's going to destroy us all. Gloomers are the ones who say, don't forget about environment and all this stuff, you bozos. Zoomers are accelerationists. And bloomers, which is Reid, is people who do think there's some concerns and some controls, but the benefits are going to be great, and let's plan them and see them grow. So in that taxonomy, Zach, where would you put yourself? Zoomer or bloomer?
Here's my issue with Bloom. So here's my issue with these things. Obviously, no Zoomer, unless they're a psychopath, is like just disregard humanity.
Right.
So I think like it's a nice taxonomy because it's like evenly divided. But like in reality, Reid puts himself exactly where everyone would want to be.
Yes. I'm a little bit of all of the above, depending on my mindset at the moment. Sometimes I'm a doomer. Sometimes I'm a psychotic Zoomer. I feel like let's just let it
back
go.
And forth. Yep.
Let's just let it go and see what happens. You think that's a nutty point of view, Zach?
No, but what I'm going to say here is like someone like Reid has sort of, I have a lot of respect for Reid for obvious reasons, but Reid has like taken some pretty strong positions in the past on things like, for example, Donald Trump, and said like, this is a person who's going to make the world worse. And I actually don't give enough credit to politicians anymore of robust economies to actually like make the world worse. I think that the problem now is, can we like get ourselves out of a lot of situations that I think technology can solve for? So what I mean by this is like, the easy thing to say is like, I'm a bloomer, and what we should do is just like carefully manage AI, but that just introduces a bunch of excuses for special interest and puts us in like this, like a new set of issues around, policy and the EU is going to experience this very soon. I also don't think we should run rampant with this thing. I mean, there should be some policy, but I think it's so easy to say, we need to, control for all these things, when in actuality, we're fast approaching a world where I think the free market ends up solving so many problems that the government promised to solve a long time ago. And that's just going to be one of these weird things where people wake up and go, wait a second, why do I pay 50% into a system that's actually just gatekeeping abundant education, abundant healthcare, et cetera?
So you believe that AI is going to solve these problems, not just the free market, but AI itself is going to solve these problems?
I think that technology solves problems. I think that if you look back long enough, you realize that almost every problem that we've ever faced is not solved by policy, but in fact solved by innovation. Like what actually ends up happening is we just invent tools that make us more efficient, and then over time, these tools sort of make what used to be a luxury a commodity, and then the world just gets better, right? Like driving down the cost of water, driving down the cost of food, driving down the cost of the internet, driving down the cost of electricity. These are the actual things that move the world forward. And the lower the inference cost gets on AI, the more abundant AI gets, and basically the more distributed it gets. And that's my take on broadly technology. Fusion energy is like, I think, the great unlock to world peace, quite honestly. Like abundant energy leads to abundant foodstuffs, leads to abundant water, leads to just like, suddenly people are like, why are we fighting? We live in truly a post-scarcity world. This is how the world works, by the way. I don't think this is like a super hot take.
Don't you worry a little bit, though, about the dangers of AI, or are you not worried about that at all? We talked yesterday, Steve Gibson did a whole show on AI jailbreaking. And there's not an AI out there currently that hasn't been jailbroken, which means there's not an AI that hasn't been used to, for instance, create malware. Or his example, I said, well, what? So big deal. His example is, well, what if you were able to use an AI to create a toxin that we never heard of before, we had no cure for?
You can't anticipate every possible bad thing that any human
more
being can imagine to use with a machine. We're stuck with that.
You cannot
fact.
protect. Yeah, there's no AI safety is an illusion, it seems to be. You agree
Ask the
or
Pope
disagree?
and the printing press.
So again, I think it is very easy for people to point at these like outlier events that could be caused by technology. And for every outlier event that technology can cause, there's a solution to that event that technology will create. I mean, measures and countermeasures is this like proud tradition that AI will observe just like every other technology. And just the same way that the cost of an attack on a bank has just declined every year.
Yeah.
Because banks are like, oh, we figured it out. Like we like know how to stop these things now, and we know how to make sure that we don't get taken for a bunch of money. The reality here is, for every toxin that's going to be created, someone's going to come up with an anecdote to that toxin.
All right.
Well, they will only if the incentives are there to do so. So if you think about the application of algorithms and AI to social media, for example, you have a situation where there are millions of people who are completely captured by TikTok and they rearrange their lives around it. There are other examples that are sort of outside of AI, like video gaming. There are people who literally play video games until they die, oftentimes in Asia, just completely captured by these things. And this would be solvable by technology for sure, but there are no incentives for the companies
There's
to
no financial
actually
incentive.
solve those problems, because it's not a problem for them. It's not a problem for Meta that people are addicted to its social networks. See what I'm saying? So this is a problem that we have with incentives. I mean, I think it's reasonable to say that advanced technologies, and probably AI is another example generally as a category, make a lot of things worse and a lot of things better at the same time. And it's all about the incentives to make things better. If we profit or we benefit from people's lives being kind of messed up, then their lives are going to be messed up.
Yeah. Again, I'm just going to take the other side of this, which is like, if you could reinvent the internet, you uninvent the internet, you wouldn't. Social media is one of these like blights of the internet, but it's a social experiment. And what's I think fascinating about all these things, if you had looked at the United States in 1950, your safe assumption would have been that we all were going to die of alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
And like people have such incredible recency bias. Like they're willing to look at social media and be like, there's never been anything worse to humanity. And by the way, I think it's an incredible blight. I don't use social media. I have someone on my team do LinkedIn and Twitter for me. Fine. It's a cost of doing business for me. But the reality is, what we know is that it doesn't make us happier, and humans actually default back to our happiness function. This is why you're seeing an entire generation, despite the fact that every alcohol company wants to sell you alcohol, Mike, there's a new generation behind you that's like, hey, I don't want to drink that much. And you're going to see this with social media. For every measure, there's a countermeasure, and things revert back to the mean. And my point is simply, let's create optionality. Let's create a world where people can do whatever they want, and actually trust that people in the end sort of align to their own best interest, which actually it turns out is time with friends and family and physical community. And we keep coming back to that place, which is why we're creating more and more better alternatives to the internet all the time. Concerts have never been more popular. Sporting events have never been more popular. Theater has never been more popular. Like all these offline events are sort of resurging because people are like, hey, you know what? I actually don't want to doom scroll. I don't want to drink, right? Like these things, this is happening already.
We're talking to Zack Kass. He is the former head of go-to-market for OpenAI. He's a consultant, and his new book, when is the book going to come out? It's called The Next Renaissance, AI and the Expansion of Human Potential.
End of March.
End of March. So it's done. You finished writing it.
Now I just sit there and regret everything.
Well, tell me about it.
Yeah, Jeff has some experience with that. The subtitle is The Next Renaissance, AI and the Expansion of Human Potential. You're very bullish about AI. You say, thanks to the coming emergence of artificial general intelligence, this chapter in our species story will be marked above all by a massive surge in human potential and productivity, which will unlock profound advances in science, technology, health, education, robotics, and the political economy. I love it. Let's be optimistic.
Zach, what's your definition of AGI?
Oh, that's a funny one, Jeff. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of vital to this discussion because nobody really ever defines it.
You know what's interesting is it's the one thing that I wish we hadn't even mentioned in the book, but like at the time, it's a marketing term. It's clearly a marketing term. We shouldn't call it anything else. I consider it human intellectual equivalence. That's probably what I would call it, human intellectual equivalence. And honestly, we're probably there.
If we're not there, we're awfully close, especially if you take a look at the reasoning models. It's remarkable.
Jan LeCun says we're lucky if we get to, in the near term to be a cat.
But Jan LeCun has died on this hill. I don't think you could walk him off this position. I mean,
I think he's right. I think he's absolutely right. I think that until it gets a sense of reality and real life and knows that when a ball falls off a table, it's actually still a ball, it's not human intelligence.
I think it's reasonable, though.
I don't think a cat can create a video. I'm just not sure that that's right at all.
Well, if we write the right tool for it,
this is an argument that we're going to hear a lot on this show over the next few months and years until AGI actually is provably here, and then Jeff will have to say, "Well, I guess I was wrong."
Zach, so a cat. So what? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, a cat can't make a video, but an AI robot can't play with a ball of string. So I think it's reasonable that.
But which is more useful?
But that's
not
to
the
true.
cat.
Mike,
the string is way more useful.
We could program a robot to play with a ball of string. We certainly you
could make a robot simulate playing with a ball of string,
but it's not playing.
Does it enjoy it the way a cat does? But my point is the problem with AGI, I think, obviously, is that AI is already way better at humans at a whole bunch of things, and nowhere near as good as humans at a bunch of other things. So,
fine.
The math is impossible. You can't basically say, well, in general, on average, we've reached AGI.
That's why you're right, Zach. The term is difficult.
It's just a marketing term. It's a
marketing. Let me ask the other challenging question, which is, as I'm curious of your experience at OpenAI and what happened there with the whole board kerfuffle and everything else, the question of safety, the definitions of safety. And it's always struck me that the doomers have kind of ruined the definition of the word because they overblow that too. Oh my God, we can destroy mankind. And talk about P-doom and all that. Where did you see yourself in the culture of OpenAI around those questions of doom and safety?
None of this is going to surprise you. I mean, you just have me. By the way, have me back when something goes terribly wrong to shame me, I suppose. You know what? Even then, I'm going to die on this hill, Jeff. And here's my only point. If someone's like, how are you so sure this is going to go right? If you believe the world's going to get a whole lot worse, the onus is on you to prove why. Because we crawled out of caves once. I mean, where we have come.
These days I want to go back in, but keep going.
See, I know you're tongue in cheek, but I think there's something so pernicious about the idea that we are somehow regressing. Because in fact, the reality is today is the best day ever to be born, and tomorrow will be.
I agree. I agree.
But Jeff, I think your point is like an interesting one, which is a lot of people hearken back to these romantic days of old, when in fact we have made so much progress from the time when, my dad's favorite, in Kennedy. Oh, I wish we still had Kennedy. Yeah, well, we had a bunch of other things that were pretty messed up.
Well, that's why I don't buy PDoom.
Okay.
Actually, that's why I think that that's an egotistical effort by certain AI boys to say, I'm so powerful, I can destroy mankind. That's BS. And I think mankind is smarter than that, and we'll figure this out.
Look, that's what I said. It's not going to surprise you. I totally agree.
Okay.
And I think if you believe that the world is going to end, you have a major onus to prove that we are going to rebuke a lot of like you'd have to reverse an incredible amount of historical precedent to actually believe that.
One of the things you do since you've left OpenAI is you consult with companies like Coca-Cola, Morgan Stanley, the White House. What do you tell them? If I were an executive at a big corporation, what do you tell them about how they should prepare for this new AI-driven world?
The advisory business we run spends time with a lot of different governments, all mostly democracies in the world or U.S. allies. And we also support a lot of Fortune 1000 companies across sort of policy, science, and applied, and sort of the breadth of, how the technology is going to impact them. We work with a group that focuses on their social security. And one of the questions they're asking is, when are people going to retire in the future? And actually, does the retirement age make sense in a world where technology is so easy to use as it's getting easier? Can we actually wean people into retirement instead of slamming the book shut on their working chapter? So, we touch sort of everything. What we try to do is point to trends and interesting events on the horizon that give people some way to ground where things are going. Because for most of the boardrooms and the executives we work with, it's just whiplash. I mean, it's so overwhelming.
It is for us. I can imagine what it is if you're trying to run a business in this.
That's exactly right. So a lot of what we're trying to do is just make sense of the technology vis-a-vis whatever, $100 billion company they're running and whatever multi-trillion-dollar market they're in, so that they can actually apply it in simple ways instead of it feeling like they've gone to plaid, like some Spaceballs reference where just everyone's holding on for dear life because the ship's just moving too fast.
It's a challenging world for all of us, and I think the biggest challenge at this point is even understanding what's happening. Do you feel like you understand what's happening, Zack?
Well. That's a great question.
It feels fairly unpredictable to me. I mean, I agree that the arc of technological history bends towards good things, but there's also a few bumps in the road along the way, inevitably.
Okay, so from a scientific standpoint, I think it's actually pretty clear to understand what's happening. I mean, we were building what we observed early on. Boris Power, the head of research engineering at OpenAI, coined this term of unmetered intelligence, which is how we explained what we were building towards to executives that were exploring OpenAI. And unmetered intelligence is like a thing that is a term that I love to use. It's like, free intelligence. The path to that makes sense to me, totally. How humans respond to it doesn't no. I
unpredictable.
I cannot tell you. And one of the things that we study in the next Renaissance, and one of the things that I study at UVA, and one of the things we talk a ton about is this new divergence between a societal threshold, what do we want a machine to do, and a technological threshold, what can a machine do? Because these things used to sort of happen in parallel. There was a convergence and a symmetry between these two things. We invented something out of necessity and we used it right away. And then we started to have this divergence in this post-scarcity, post-barbarism world. The obvious best example is nuclear power. We invent nuclear power and we go, we have enough coal. We don't want to run the risk of a nuclear reactor exploding, so let's just shelf this technology. And of course, we regret that now. But it's very interesting to consider that the future is actually not going to be informed by what a machine can do. That question won't become interesting in a world where machines can do most things. It's going to be informed by what we actually want that machine to do.
Yeah.
And societal thresholds that we are willing to cross become the most important thing. And so that's where actually a lot of our time is now spent on the research side and on the advisory side, helping businesses figure out, do their constituents actually want this thing?
I know you got to get a
go.
plane. I'm going to ask you one last question because we got to let Zach go. I'm sorry, Jeff. DeepSeek kind of sent a shock through the AI industry. Sam, in an AMA on Reddit, said we were on the wrong side of history. What's your reaction to what happened with DeepSeek?
I got kind of lucky because I read the DeepSeek paper in May 2024 and started talking about it to people. And then I got invited to UBS's Greater China Summit in Shanghai in early January and spoke about it there. Because my message has consistently been, these models are converging. The frontier will lead, but it's not, there is a clear commoditization happening at the research level, in part because the inference costs are just driving down so far so fast. And so I got a bunch of points when that came about, and then a bunch of people called. And my answer is really simple, and this is like, I think where we can leave it. There is a huge difference between DeepSeek R1, the model breakthrough, which I will remind everyone is open source. It's clear improvement in the technology. We should consider it a win insofar as it's challenging the norm that the frontier model costs a lot. And DeepSeek the app. And DeepSeek the app is hugely problematic and something that we should actually seriously concern ourselves with respect to national security.
Because it exfiltrates everything in China.
Yeah, I mean, the CCP has requirements around all app developers. I mean, I've never downloaded a Chinese company app. TikTok, right. Shein, Temu, RedNote. None of these apps should be downloaded by a US user, quite honestly, simply because the CCP gets all the data. It's not even that you don't have to trust the app developer. It's just like kind of a risky position. But the model R1 is a huge win. And we should all celebrate it in a world where everyone's clamoring for more ecologically friendly AI and, more fair and distributed AI. This is a great signal that, in fact, we're not going to live in a technological hegemony.
It confirms in some ways your optimism. Go ahead, Mike.
You use Perplexity. I think you're a pro user, right? And one of the models they use now is R1. And I
used it this morning. I was talking with Paul Thurrott. He says, I was watching TV. He's in Mexico, and the president of Mexico said something about changing the way we vote, but I couldn't find the news story about it. I asked R1. He asked, by the way, Copilot, Gemini, and ChatGPT, and all of them said, hey, we can't talk about elections. A lot of safety there. R1 had no problem with it and gave me a very nice summary of all of
I grilled it about Tiananmen Square and all this stuff, and it
don't
just
ask
gave me
about
all the right
Square.
answers. No, it's fine.
Zach has a flight. My point. We got to let Zach go. He's got a
all
flight.
Right. Hey, Zach, it really is a pleasure. We'll have you back soon when you have a little bit more time. The book, The Next Renaissance, AI and the Expansion of Human Potential, comes out in March, and his website is zackkass.com, ZACKKASS.com. Thank you, Zach. Make your flight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Travel safe.
Looking
Real
forward
pleasure.
to coming back and we can talk about all the things that are going right and wrong.
Yes.
All right. With any luck, there won't be too much of the latter.
See you guys.
All right. You're watching Intelligent Machines, brand new show. It's really the old show this week in Google. We did a little Googleectomy. And we found we've been talking a lot about AI in general over the last couple of years. It is, I think we all agree, probably the most exciting area right now in technology. And Mike, you've done the same thing with your Substack. I mean, you've refocused on AI as well. So we thought we needed a show that covered this. And I thought the name Intelligent Machines was apt instead of something about AI, because we're really not just talking about, AI chatbots. We're talking about, the computing at the edge. You're surrounded now by machines with intelligence of all kinds.
It's fascinating to me. Yeah, it's fascinating to me, the obsession with the chatbot end of AI. I do enormous research for my Foundry column and also for Machine Society. And I'm looking at all aspects of AI. And literally, it seems like in terms of the news, the breakthroughs, what's literally new, 90% of it is all kinds of incredible science that's happening, medicine, serious advancements in in diagnosing diseases and also doing studies using AI. And so I think the public has a very skewed view. When they hear AI, they think ChatGPT, but actually that's in the larger scheme of things, a kind of a rounding error in terms of how important it is. AI is being applied very, very broadly. And in fact, in some really interesting and fun ways that I'll talk about when we get to my thing of the week.
Oh, good. Very good.
That'll be about 4 hours from now, but
No. That's the other thing. I think we're going to try to make the show a little bit more concise. We'll see. Good luck. Paris has the day off. Happy birthday, Paris. She'll be back next week. Are you going to not be here, though, next week, Jeff?
no, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
You're the one who's
I know
here.
who's not going to be here. I'm not going to be here.
What are you
I
doing?
knew it was somebody.
Jeez.
Lisa and I, for her birthday and our anniversary, are going to Tucson, Arizona for the International Gem and Mineral Show. I don't know. I think you both know that Lisa's kind of into rocks. She married me.
What's in your head? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought that was just a musical reference. I didn't know it was
well,
actual.
that also. Anyway, I won't be here next week, but the whole team will reassemble in a couple of weeks. And we're already booking some really interesting guests. I'm very excited about Ray Kurzweil. I had hoped to have him for the inaugural episode since we're stealing his name, but he couldn't make it, but he will be here.
There is no theft, only tribute.
It's a tribute. Let's just say that. We're going to take a little break. We'll come back. We have AI news. And I want to ask Mike why his headline at Machine Society is why you can DeepSeek the DeepSeek hype. I think that'll be an interesting conversation as well. You're watching Intelligent Machines, brand new on Twit. We're so glad you're here for the show. If you are already a subscriber to This Week in Google, it's the same feed, the same web page. Nothing else has changed, just the name. And the album art, which I thank Anthony Nielsen for. And we finally got rid of those damn flutes in our theme song. I think that was the main reason I did this. And thank you to Benito Gonzalez, who created the theme song you heard at the beginning of the show. He is, of course, also our producer, technical director, editor, and all about man about town. Our show today brought to you by Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. You know, the world is changing, isn't it? AI is, of course, part of that change. But what we used to think was great security with these firewall perimeter defenses, that has been up to now the default way to protect your enterprise. We've spent billions on firewalls. And of course, if you have a firewall, you need a VPN, right? So the employees can get into the network. What has that done to improve our security? Well, Zack notwithstanding, breaches continue to rise. There was an 18% year-over-year increase in ransomware attacks and a record payout of $75 million to ransomware goons in 2024. The truth is, traditional perimeter defense security tools don't help. They expand your attack surface. Those VPNs have public-facing IPs. And of course, the bad guys are working faster and better than ever because they're using AI tools to attack. It is a big problem right now. VPNs and firewalls also allow lateral movement. They just assume if you're in the network, well, you're one of us. So once the bad guy gets in, they can go anywhere in the network, look for valuable information, your emails, your customer information, and so on, and encrypt it and send it out through the firewall. Because firewalls have a real hard time inspecting encrypted traffic at scale. You can see this is a disaster waiting to happen. And then just add on top of that the fact that hackers are exploiting this traditional infrastructure using AI. They're outpacing your defenses. It's time to rethink security. We can't let these bad guys win. They're innovating and exploiting your defenses. You need Zscaler, Zero Trust, and AI. Together, stops attackers. Here's how. By hiding your attack surface, so your apps and your IPs are invisible, right? Bad guys can't attack what they can't see. They also solve this lateral movement problem because Zero Trust does not assume that anybody inside the network is a good guy. Users are only allowed to connect to specific apps that they have explicitly been allowed and authorized to use. They can't go anywhere in the network and access any data. Plus, Zscaler continuously verifies every request based on identity and context. And it keeps a log so you know what's going on. Simplifying security management with AI-powered automation. In fact, it needs AI because Zscaler analyzes 500 billion daily transactions. Now, some of those are malicious, and it uses the AI to find those malicious needles in that giant haystack. It's really a remarkable tool. Hackers can't attack what they can't see. You can protect your organization with Zscaler Zero Trust and AI. Learn more at zscaler.com/security. That's ZSCALER, or for our Canadian listeners, ZSC, or British, ZSCALER.com/security. Thank you, Zscaler, for supporting the brand new show. We appreciate your faith in intelligent machines. We're really glad to have you. And you support the show when you go to that address, zscaler.com/security. There is.
Let me stop you real quickly. I need your screen share.
Oh yeah, of course you do. No wonder I've been pulling stuff up. I rushed so fast to get into the meeting and get Zach out of here. Okay. If you, Mike and Jeff, if you're seeing a firefly, if you're seeing Jeff's
I'm seeing it.
Newsletter, you just click the tab at the top that says, whatever it says, meeting. You should see me. How is it now, Benito? You can see it?
Yep, good to go.
Yep. Okay. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if our timing was good, but there's a lot of AI news this week.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a lot of AI news if you go looking for it.
Did you even look down at the lower half of the rundown?
Oh my God. How many hundreds of lines of stories do we have? All right. Well, let's see. Where should we start? I could just start giving you headlines bit by bit.
Well, I could tell you why the DeepSeek hype is overhyped. If you like.
Yes, this is the front page of MachineSociety.ai.
That's right.
You say a fast, cheap, open source LLM-based AI chatbot has emerged from China. Here's what's bugging me about all the hype. By the way, you may say it was hype, but the stock market believed every bit of it.
That's part of the hype. Yeah, that's part of the hype. So the hype is based on 3 data points. One is the stock market. It wiped out $1 trillion of value from U.S. AI companies. No, it didn't. The stock market is fickle, and
most of them are back.
Not a good. Yeah, it's not a good metric for anything. It's basically just everybody's sort of speculating and knee-jerk reacting. So that was one data point that is always overblown. No. $1 trillion of value was not lost by U.S. companies. The second data point is the downloads. They said, wow, there are more downloads than ChatGPT. Well, of course, ChatGPT has been available for months. Everybody who wants ChatGPT already downloaded it months ago. And so if you look at the downloads this week, you're likely to see the thing that just came out that everybody's talking about that's in the news. Of course, the download metric is completely irrelevant. You notice that the breathless media coverage didn't talk about total downloads over the last 8 months. It's about this week. Just it's skewed information. But the biggest one, which basically is information that came after I wrote my newsletter, is that the data point of $5.6 million, which was bandied about as the training cost for DeepSeek, is a completely BS number. That's the cost of the final training run over 2 months. In fact, it didn't include research and development, infrastructure, hardware acquisition, data preparation, and a whole bunch of other things. It didn't include the salaries of the people working, didn't include any of that stuff. And if you do include that stuff, the cost of developing DeepSeek was between $500 million and $1.6 billion.
A little closer to the real thing, but
still
way
cheaper.
Still cheaper. Yep.
Yes, but it's not $5.6 million. And so I think the shock of that low number is sort of like part of the hype. As we can see now with the dust settling, turns out DeepSeek didn't really make that big of an impact in anything. It's a new model. It's being integrated. It's being folded in, like we were talking about earlier, into Perplexity. It's nice. It's not quite as powerful as some of the other tools that we have, but it's interesting. And it's also interesting that unlike TikTok, where the hand of the Chinese Communist Party and of Chinese government censorship and all the rest is sort of hidden and difficult to tease out with any sort of accuracy, it's clear to see that the app that DeepSeek made available is a commie propaganda. I mean, it's just like you ask it about Tiananmen Square, and it gives you an answer, then it wipes it away and gives you.
Yeah, that I've seen the videos of that. That's pretty amazing. Yeah. But you'd expect that. We do the same thing. As I said, when you ask Copilot about Mexican election proposals, they say, "Oh, let's not talk about elections." I mean, that's the safety part of it, right? And the fact that we don't in the United States talk about elections is similar to not talking about Tiananmen Square in China, right?
It's not the same because one is coming from the policy of the company that basically doesn't want to have to go before Congress and talk about why their chatbot tells people what a clown the congressman is that they're talking to and stuff like that. It's a policy based on the company, and the companies vary. So that's one of the things I like about Perplexity. You can ask it all kinds of topics that are unpleasant. You can ask it about Trump. You can ask it about all these things, and it'll give you a straight answer. And it's really kind of nice. Whereas the Chinese Communist Party, this is a decades-long policy of controlling what people know and what people believe.
But Mike, I understand all that. That's not what's interesting to people about DeepSeek. It's that it was using clever hacks to get around the injunction against using the highest level NVIDIA cards. I mean, if we're to believe, by the way, this is, and I brought this up before, we don't really know if they wrote assembly language code to replace the CUDA cores code. We don't know exactly. Maybe they did, in fact, get around the embargo and buy the top of the line NVIDIA chips, but just didn't tell anybody. None of this can be vetted because it's China.
We know that there are tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA chips in China that are just smuggled in 10 at a time.
Well, so maybe it isn't so impressive. But maybe it is, and I think Sam Altman thinks it is. I think people think it is impressive that they've done so much with so little, I guess.
Let me argue where the hype's done good, even if it is BS. It's done us well because, number one, it's added a competitive fever, and I think the competition is good. Number two, it's causing others to put their stuff out for free out of fear, and I think that's a good thing. It's adding more open source, and it's validating open source. And it's also, the big one to me is it's questioning this American macho chest-beating idea that everything must be huge. And if it is huge, it must be the best because it is American and it is huge. And we have more compute than anybody, and we have more money than everybody, and you have to have capital to do anything. So by questioning that ethos of American AI technology, I think that's healthy for the discussion. Whether or not, I'm not disagreeing with you, Mike, necessarily, that it may be the hype may be BS, but I think it actually did some good.
I think it did some good too. On balance, it absolutely did some good, especially since it's open source and you can take it without the propaganda, right? You can take it.
Yeah, and in fact, that was one of the things that Sam Altman said. We were on the wrong side of history. He said we should have been more open about our weights. This, one of the things OpenAI was founded to be is open about how it was doing what it was doing, and they, of course, backed off as soon as they decided to become a profit-making entity.
I mean, I wrote the newsletter at the peak of the DeepSeek hype and panic, and I think that it's clear now. A few days have passed that it really didn't change that much. All that stuff about attitudes in Silicon Valley in the United States about the money and blah blah blah. Those are very much still with us. That hasn't been erased or washed away. It has been added to the mix of all the options that companies have and that the users have for AI. But it really isn't the apocalyptic event that it was being made out to be. What I do think is most interesting about it, and I've been writing a lot about this in recent month or two, is that we've had a sort of a bias in media that basically was in cable news. Basically it used to be Walter Cronkite. When he had cable news, then the news outlets went left and right, and people would choose their their point of view as they wanted. Then that hit social media, especially when Elon Musk bought X. A lot of the lefties left X and went to Blue Sky. A lot of the right-wingers who didn't used to do Twitter or X went to X because now it's a friendlier platform for right-wing media. And now it's increasingly happening in AI chatbots. So there have been a couple of studies that found that in general, many of the mainstream chatbots have started out sort of center-ish and have gradually moved left as they do moderation. And then there are other
politics pollutes everything, doesn't it? Ay, ay, ay.
Yes. But there are others that like Grok and so on that are kind of on the right, and then
because that's Elon's
DeepSeek, which clearly
AI,
the app at least. Exactly. So we've entered into an era that like people haven't been commenting on enough, I think, where the chatbots are increasingly politically biased, for lack of a better term.
What you said, you like Perplexity the best. I have to say that's the one I use the most often because it lets me choose from whatever model I want. I did just out of curiosity. I thought I was asking Perplexity about the Mexican plans to change the voting system, and I thought I was asking DeepSeek, but I think Perplexity intervened because when I did ask DeepSeek natively, it said, well, you should, I don't know much about what's going on. I know who the president is, but I don't know much about what's going on right now. So you should probably go elsewhere to find that information. So obviously Perplexity either substituted a different model or fed some information to DeepSeek that it then regurgitated. But
that's surprising. I've not encountered anything like that before. It's usually pretty straightforward. I mean, it does lie a lot and give me weird hallucinatory information, but a lot of that is just you have to know enough about the topic that you're asking it to say, no, that's not right. Try again. Right. And, eventually.
Well, and you can enable in DeepSeek the search function. I don't have that capability within Perplexity. I should probably go into DeepSeek and do it. In any event, Paul Thurrott was mocking me because I have a folder full and I pay for Gemini, DeepSeek. I don't pay for that, obviously, but I pay for all the others, ChatGPT, Anthropic, and I use them all depending. In fact, Lisa was mocking me this morning too.
Well, I'll bet because she's got to pay the bills.
Well, it's only $20 each, but
you not pay the $200 a month ChatGPT?
No, I didn't pay for the professional. That I was
tight times.
I don't feel the need to. I feel like especially the reasoning models like O1 and O1 High are remarkable.
But you have so many that are free now. I mean, and this is the story you have in the rundown that one thing that DeepSeek does is validate Meta's open source view, and I think Meta's free version is good. Gemini's free version is good, and they just released.
Hugging Face has a version,
Gemini just released its 2.0 to everybody for free.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Have you played with 2.0?
I haven't yet. No, have you?
No.
I was too busy being on Zoom all day.
How about you, Mike? Any thoughts on the new version of Google's AI, which is version 2.0?
I haven't played with it yet either.
So I have I'm looking at I also pay for Gemini. I have 2.0 Flash for everyday tasks, plus more features. 2.0 Experimental Advanced. Ooh, should I ask it about the Mexican changes in the Mexican voting plans? All right, that might be an interesting test we can start using. Because it's fairly topical, right?
What is the stack here? Where does advanced come in versus all the 2.0 and all the others? Do you know? I don't.
Like stack in terms of how
high to low versions.
Oh, I have no idea.
Branding, Google and branding.
Yeah, they're never clear, are they? All right, so here we go. I'm going to paste the same question into a Gemini. Typically, because this is breaking news in Mexico, a lot of these don't do very well. ChatGPT 4 wouldn't because its model isn't up to date. Let's see if 2.0 Experimental Advanced. No, look at this. This is the same answer we got from the other American AIs. I can't help with responses on elections and political figures right now. While I would never deliberately share something that's inaccurate, I can make mistakes. So while I work on improving, you can try Google search. So it lacks access to real-time info.
So I'm on Google AI Studios, I think, where you try Gemini 2.0. And the query at the top is, what will you build? Which is
so it's aimed at coding then.
Push Gemini to the limits of what AI can do using Gemini API. So it's more API oriented.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I would say is that there isn't much skepticism. Maybe there is on your part, Mike. I don't know. There seems to be little skepticism in the coding community about the value of AI coders. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg says he hopes to replace coding engineers with AI this year.
Yeah, it's generally received as an unqualified good among developers, because one of the things that it can do is basically just show you an idea, and a lot of good developers will look at the results they get from AI and say, okay, yeah, that's an interesting approach. Or you can throw out a bunch of code and say, what's wrong with this? Where's the problem here? And it basically, just like it does with non-coding tasks, it's just an accelerant to get to an answer that that people who already know something about the subject can benefit from, and those who don't know anything about the subject, they can just, people who are very relatively unskilled developers can just take what AI gives them, plug it in, and half the time it just works and they move on. So it's
Leo, I was thinking about this because going into today's show, I think code will become even more invisible to most people than it is today. That is to say that now we get applications, and behind those applications is code, and we know it, but we don't use it. But now the fact that you can build something, as Gemini just challenged us, with our native human language, and it'll make code to do the thing you want, but I don't have to execute that code. I don't have to look at the code. All I care about is whether it gave me what I wanted, right? So code becomes inside and irrelevant to most people, I think, more and more and more.
I read a very fun blog post by a coder who said, in many areas, art, music, people say, well, let the AI do the everyday stuff, but there will always be a market for human created artisanal, whatever, paintings or clothing or whatever. He said, that's not going to be the case with code, because nobody knows how cleverly crafted the internals are, just as you're saying, Jeff, of a piece of code. They just care whether it works.
If it works, yeah.
So that's exactly the problem here. Is that's why AI can reasonably be expected to write good code. It is a computer, after all, talking to a computer, and that's not such a difficult thing to do. It's much more like, say, becoming a chess grandmaster than it is like writing the great American novel. I think that's fine. I don't want AI to do art. I want us to do art. That's what we do.
Well, Jason and I had on Lev Manovich last week on AI Inside, who's a City University of New York Graduate Center artist, and he does amazing work. He has a new book out, and he uses AI as a collaborator. And the interesting thing he said to me when I was asking about this is that the good part comes when he disagrees with the AI, when it's conflict. It's like having an editor or a critic. And, why did you do that? And that was wrong, but it's pushing me to some idea I didn't have, or it's not doing what I want it to do. And that's when the creativity comes, which is really interesting. By the way, the Copyright Office, which in the past has been saying AI created material cannot be copyrighted because it's a machine that made it. Yeah. They've come out with a new report, which is in the rundown, part 2 of its report on legal and policy issues, saying that after considering extensive public comments, our conclusions turn on the centrality of human creativity to copyright. So that if a human is involved in the creation with AI,
then it could be copyrighted.
By
the human, not the AI.
Right. But it also goes to what you just said about the programmer. How do we know that the human's involved? How do you prove the human involvement? How important was the human involvement? Is it just enough to say I wanted to do this?
Well, we don't copyright code as it is.
You can't really, that's right anyway. Yeah, but I just say creation. Yeah.
By the way, here's the table from Google on Gemini, the capabilities of the different Gemini models. There's Flashlight, Flash, and Gemini 2.0 Pro. And they're really promoting the Gemini 2.0 Pro as a coder, the best model yet. says Google, for coding performance and complex prompts. You know, I've seen, and you've probably seen it too on X and other places, people posting prompts that created one-line prompts that created JavaScript programs for bouncing balls in squares and things, and the physics is good. DeepSeek, in many cases, is not as good as some of the models from OpenAI and Google, or Anthropic, which does a very good job of coding. Let's see if I can find some of those. I don't think writing code is going to be I think this year I don't think Mark's wrong. I think Zuckerberg's wrong. I think this year we're going to be able to say by the end of the year, yeah, computers should be writing code. Why
Because
should
it opens it up for all of us to make computers do what we want them to do.
Right.
That's the power of this.
Do you have a problem with that? Does anybody have a problem with that? That seems like it's a good use.
No, I mean,
It's just me because I don't code.
I don't have a problem with that necessarily, but I think that's kind of a little bit of a fantasy, because the problem is that most producers, or people who want something done, like managers and VPs, they don't know what they actually want. So they don't know how to ask the computer.
The interface between a human and the AI might be the problem, but that's why everybody's saying learn how to write prompts.
People know, but it's not just about writing prompts. They usually don't even know what they want.
Right.
And it's usually the coder that kind of decodes susses out what they're actually asking for.
That is a big part of the process, yes.
Benito, I couldn't agree more. I'm going to go back to an Uncle Jeff moment here. At the beginning of Condé Net, when we started Epicurious, we had the very first meeting with a technology house we hired. And the technologist said, okay, tell us every page you're ever going to want. And the editor said, are you knucking futz? We'll know it when we see it. And it was the extreme cultural shift there, where we do things in editorial. It's just iterative, and we'll play with it, and it's creative, and we'll do something more and something more. And the technologist said, no, I need a spec. What are you doing?
Exactly. And the AI is going to ask for a spec.
Yes, because otherwise you're not going to get what you want. If you can't express what you want well, you're not going to get it. And that's what coders have said to people for years. And now AI is going to be like a coder, and the coders are going to sit back saying, I told you.
You're still going to need the coder.
Well, think about the iteration, though. Think about the iteration process. Because if a manager could say, well, I want something like this, and the AI does it, he can iterate with the AI very much more rapidly than with a human coder.
In that sense.
Yeah.
It's like what Dan did by inventing spreadsheets. You could ask what ifs.
If Steve Jobs called the computer a bicycle for the mind, I think AI might be a race car for the mind. And actually, the analogy is perfect, because one of the reasons Steve said a computer is a bicycle for a mind is because the bicycle is the single most efficient mode of purely human transport, right? Our own energy, it converts our own energy most efficiently into movement, whereas a race car does not. A race car burns fuel, but it does get us much faster from point A to point B. And I think that in a way, that's kind of what we're talking about here with AI. It is maybe not the most efficient, but it is maybe the fastest way. I think that there is a certain amount of gatekeeping humans inevitably do, because we'd like to think that we're special. And that our capabilities are unique, and that a machine can't duplicate it.
Well, that's the basic problem with AGI, is that we think that the benchmark is to be us. Why should that be the benchmark? As Mike said earlier, it can do all kinds of things that we can't do well.
Well, I think we're going to agree with Zach and stipulate that AGI is a marketing term and not worry about it from now on.
Oh, no, it's going to come up again and again.
Every time it says, I'm going to say, it's a marketing term.
So look at the OpenAI rebrand. It's a pretty font, but look at what they said in their little description of it.
Okay, now
you got to find. You have it. I think it's in your list.
Yeah, I have to find it, because when I go to OpenAI.com, I get a chat bot. So let me see. Oh, here's their blog. Introducing. You know what? It's funny, because I saw that story and I looked at the new logo and the old logo, and I couldn't really see any difference. So I thought I was being punked. Is there really a difference between the new logo and the old?
Yeah, the font is a little bit different, but
there's a slider that lets you look at both of them, and the tilt is a little different. The weight
if you go to line 101, Leo, there you'll find what I'm talking about.
Here's from Wallpaper Magazine.
Yeah, exactly.
OpenAI has undergone its first ever rebrand, giving fresh life to ChatGPT interactions.
So scroll down to the next image below this one. The next one.
Yeah, you have the
artificial general. No, stay there. Boy, you're a bad scroller, man. You are a bad scroller.
You want me to go up or down?
Hey, you Apple people. Artificial general intelligence that benefits all of humanity. Okay, the hubris of that presumption is that we have it. We're going to have it. It's there.
Not to mention, this is the worst design for
it's
a
awful.
poster I've ever seen in my life.
It's awful.
It looks like they're using Helvetica. It's white, which is terrible for some of the sky. And okay,
if you go down, there's a video of their rebranding.
Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, they have a new typeface, which looks kind of like the old typeface.
Yeah.
They have a new logo, which looks
Helvetica.
Close to the old. Yeah, it's Helvetica.
It's Helvetica.
I'm sorry. This seems.
Space,
I hope they spent a lot of time or money on this.
Oh, somebody made a lot of money designing this.
Yeah, and the logo is a profoundly uninspired, painfully corporate-looking, generic, kind of ugly, useless kind of logo. It's just, I don't know why they're spending so much, getting so.
But they created a whole new font, a whole new typeface.
I might just keep this a secret if I had done this, and
maybe it's all AI generated. Like,
did they say it? They didn't say that.
Why wouldn't they use their own tools, right? Why would they pay a person to do this when they claim they have the technology to do this all?
Maybe they're pretending that they're using humans so that people don't get scared.
Kerning, amazing.
Kerning, look at that. Oh, is that the new logo or the old logo? It's the old new logo.
I don't know.
I just rewatched. It's the 10th anniversary of one of the greatest shows about this business ever, Silicon Valley. And
wow. 10 years.
10 years. Can you believe that? I just rewatched the episode where they're trying to get a new logo for Pied Piper. And he goes to the barrio and gets a Mexican graffiti artist named Chewy to draw it on their garage door, and it's pornographic. And the police come and say, you have to paint that over. So Chewy just takes the garage door and then sells it for $500,000 to Gavin Belson over at Hooli, and then says, I know what you white guys want. And he does a logo that's just two lowercase p's, PP. And they go, that's it, it's perfect.
Genius. What a brilliant show.
It was a brilliant show. And I think this
we
need
that for the AI world.
What's that?
The OpenAI version of Silicon Valley.
Maybe somebody will start writing that.
Yeah, please, those of you out there.
I have been looking at some examples of coding. I haven't found one that's comparing. Let's see. I built an open source Java. No, that's not it. I've only found one that compares two versions of DeepSeek, one to the other. But it's pretty cool. What I'll just show you this because I think I was fairly impressed by this in general. On the left, DeepSeek R1. It asked the prompt was simply, draw a sexagon with a ball rolling around with actual physics. This is the older model, which is, you can see the ball's having a hard time obeying physical laws. But on the left-hand side, pretty good.
Well, this is what Jan LeCun said in The Guardian this week.
I think this is at least as good as a cat.
The next leap is going to be teaching AI the physical world.
Yeah.
And that it does not know it now. And we know that. We watched how he slices steak, and we have 7 fingers, and balls disappear and all that.
Do you remember just a couple of years ago, it couldn't do hands, period.
It still screws them up.
It's a lot better.
It's a lot better, but it still gets confused.
I'm fascinated by NVIDIA's physical AI system, where they basically build virtual twin models, very, very expensive, compute-intensive places where they build a robot inside this factory or something. The entire factory is recreated in AI.
That's what Jensen Huang talks about that a lot. Yes,
that has the laws of physics in it.
Yep.
Yeah,
but
so you can
we've written the code that does that for years. They've been physics engineers engines for game designers like PhysX. that do a very good job. I don't see why that's something that would be at all difficult for an AI just to incorporate existing code.
Well, I mean, they use it for robot training. So basically you could have, if you want to train a robot, typically what you do is you go in there in place with the physical robot in the physical factory, and you have it do the task over and over and over, and you refine it, and it learns and learns and learns. It takes months and a lot of staff and so on. But if you can do this in a virtual space that has physics coded into the virtual environment, then you can have a robot doing, something 50,000 times in a day and learning how to do its task, and then you take the software from that learning and you just put it in a real robot and it can do it. So it's a really this thing about building in physics is super important for robot training in over the next couple of decades.
There was a story that I think was kind of BS-y that Leo put in the rundown that I didn't, about you talk to your future.
Hey,
talk to your future, right?
I want to get this guy on the show. I thought this was really cool.
It'll drive me nuts. But in a sense, Mike, the digital twin is that on a close time basis. Here is 1,000 different things that can happen in the next move you make, and then there's a new 1,000 things that can happen, and then there's a different 1,000 things that can happen.
Right.
And that becomes interesting as you have these alternative futures almost ad infinitum because of your digital twin. But it's not going to know what you're like at 90. That's BS.
Yeah. The other problem with that article is that they said that it's brand new technology. This is a year old. This I was writing about this in April of last year.
Yeah.
This is a Wall Street Journal story by Heidi Mitchell. AI has shown me my future. Here's what I've learned. It is a little hypey, I have to admit. Future You is a new AI platform developed by psychologists, researchers, and technologists that allows users to create a virtual older self that you can talk to. She was most impressed by how it made her look older. She created a toothless version
I need that.
of herself.
Yeah.
That's been around forever. This is a project from MIT. I put it in because I thought it's here's what I think is interesting about this. I think it isn't unreasonable to say, for instance, that an AI could be trained. For instance, for me, there's hundreds of thousands of hours of recordings that an AI could be trained on those.
Oh, on a lot less. Yes.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot of data, so it could be trained on those. Maybe there are parameters to say, well, okay, now you're 30 years older. And for me to interact with that and ask questions of it, I think is kind of interesting. I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, it's like going and getting your palm read.
Well,
right. It gives you no agency. It's an extension of thinking that you have no power over your life. It can't account for all the things that are happening in your life. It's BS in the most extreme.
Yeah.
It's the same as the problem I have with the worst job title on earth is futurist. Yeah. And one person thinks I'm talking about her. I'm not. I'm talking about all of them.
Yeah.
You're talking about Amy Webb, but I got to tell you, Zack
keeps on
Kass
thinking it's
also
her.
called himself a future. So we've had futurists on the show all the time.
Okay, good. I kept my mouth shut before.
I mean, to your point, Jeff, I mean, they're going to be people who use this tool and it's going to say, oh, in 30 years, you're going to do X, Y, Z, and you're going to develop this whole thing and blah, 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 blah. And then the next day they get hit by a bus. So it's like, you can't.
Obviously.
But I do think I'm probably the last person alive who talks a lot about life logging. Gordon Bell died, 3-4 months ago. He was a big life logging proponent, and he basically predicted all of the things that would come around. He basically said, once we have good enough AI, we'll be able to do it. We started doing it, but nobody calls it life logging. In any event, if you had a life log, one of the problems with life logging traditionally is that you can harvest all this data, put it into a massive database of some kind, and then how do you use that information? This is a way to do it.
Yes.
You basically create a digital twin who has everything you've ever said, everything you've ever done, all your personal correspondence, everything you've written, that kind of stuff. And then to have a conversation is a really nice way to interact with your own life log data, basically.
What happened to all of Bell's data? What happened to that entire incredible archive of his life? Do we know?
It was called My Life Bits was the name of the project that he did. Right. And I don't know. It probably is part of Microsoft.
I interviewed Gordon on our triangulation show in 2011, and we talked about this. I've always been very interested. By the way, at that time, he had written a book called Total Recall, How the E-Memory Revolution Will Change Everything. Gordon was also influenced by the fact that his wife, Gwen, suffered from Alzheimer's late in life. And that also informed it because she was forgetting everything. And so he realized how valuable that would be. Yeah. He's always been an inspiration. I've always wanted that. And actually, and Jeff knows this, I'll show Mike, I'm wearing it.
Do you have the other one on too?
I don't have the Plod on. No, I decided this is the B computer. We're going to get the creators of this in a couple of weeks. They're going to be on the show. This I like because it records all the time. The Plod, you have to press the Plod and say, record this conversation.
Which is more privacy friendly, but
they're more, I mean, this is probably highly illegal, but anyway, I don't care. But, and then I am now on the list to get my limitless pin soon. That will also record everything, but it doesn't, it splits the difference. The Plod I find not useful because A, I don't always remember to do it. And B, I want my whole day. I don't just want the stuff I say, oh, remember this. I want my whole day. The Limitless, I've mentioned this before, recognizes voices. We'll see how well it works. And then won't record a voice unless it has on a recording of explicit permission that you can record me. So if I wanted to record this conversation, I would have to say, Mike, is it okay if I record this and get his explicit
And then does Mike
permission?
have to have a certain script? He must say the words,
no.
Yes, you may steal my soul.
It's an AI. You don't need, it's flexible. Okay. Same thing with you. And then conversations I have from then on with Mike would be recorded. But otherwise, it would be a blank thing. This just records everything.
So here's a
I don't have access to the audio. I have the AI transcript.
Right.
And I have then what's most useful is an AI summary. Now, this is very early days, but it's incredible.
We use prosthetic devices for all kinds of things. We don't see well. We wear glasses, hearing aids, all that stuff. And why do we have this particular bias about prosthetic memory? If I have a conversation with somebody, I'm going to remember that conversation in my brain, depending on how good my memory is. Like I may have a bad memory and you may have a great memory and we have a conversation. You remember all of it. I remember half of it.
Right.
Why can't I have a device without permission to remember something with the aid of like a tool? I was part of the conversation. It's not like I planted a microphone in your bedroom. We were having a conversation. Why do I need permission for that?
Mike, I think you're right on target. And this is a discussion that I had in an older book of mine, Public Parts, about privacy, is that when somebody says, well, that's my private data, if we transacted, we both own a piece of that conversation. And for you to demand that it come down affects my publicness or privacy. And there's no mutuality in those agreements. There's a claim of ownership by one party.
Yeah. One fan in our Discord says that wrist device just won Product of the Year from Junior Narcissists of America. So let me continue the narcissism. This was recorded this morning. Lisa and I were talking, watching The Voice with Lisa. You and Lisa were watching and commenting on The Voice. You were particularly interested in one contestant, a woman, but disappointed the judges didn't turn for her. You thought she was robbed! ! Later on, you notice the deck seems to be lifting and might need some repair work. Then it describes the atmosphere as relaxed and fun watching TV with Lisa. It gives me some suggested links on how to fix my deck. What? Is that wild? Nothing about how to fix the Voices judges. And then it might even add to my to-do list. I bet it does. Check out, let's see, what is on my to-do list? Practice fan technique. Focus on thumb position during handoffs and timing of the parry and punch move.
What does Lisa think of this device in her life?
She has mixed feelings about it.
Because she wouldn't let you put, what was it, Alexa in the bedroom or no?
She didn't want cameras in the kitchen in the house.
Right.
Because she wanted to be able to walk around, without worrying about who was watching. Yeah. Frankly, and we're going to ask the big people, the couple who created this, I don't know where they don't say what the AI is or where it's going. This could all be going straight to China. Zach clearly would not be happy about that.
I'm sure
Got a
there's a
question,
team
Leo.
of. I'm sure there's a team of Chinese government agents just poring over your thoughts on your conversations.
Now
watching
they
TV.
know that I want to locate Gravenstein apples since they're considered better for apple pies.
Does it have a sarcasm detector? Because like, what if you didn't actually like that? What if
There's
you
all
didn't
sorts of problems. For instance, I was watching a movie last night and it thought I was rehearsing for Richard III. So
That's funny.
it's early days, but the premise, I agree with what you said, Mike. I'll think of this as a memory prosthetic. I think that's
right.
useful.
It's you are privy to your own conversations, and that you should have the right to access that from a memory point of view. There's another product called Halliday glasses that came out at CES, and they're promising something that they call proactive AI. Now, these glasses don't have a camera; they do everything like that watch does. They listen to everything, and they do stuff like. They fact check. They can fact check the conversations you're having. Oh, somebody's giving you a bunch of BS.
I love that.
Explain
There is,
idioms and
by the
cultural
way,
references.
I haven't used it, but you can assign different functions to the button on this, and one of them is fact check.
Nice.
So
What does it do?
I haven't tried it, but what happens when you push the button is it activates on the phone and the AI talks to you. So I'm thinking it's going to start listening and then it's going to say, yeah, that's not true.
You idiot.
Here's
you
the
dolt.
summary from Sunday where I did Twit. Leo had a productive and engaging day filled with conversations.
That's like you got a report from nursery school. Leo had a very good day.
It's totally that.
Didn't eat any paste today.
And I
took a break
imagine there
from
will be a
Shakespeare.
time when I can say, hey, stop being that way and be another way. Later in the evening, Leo enjoyed a piano lesson focusing on relaxation techniques, true, while playing. He also spent time with his cat, sharing a heartwarming moment, playing When the Saints Go Marching In on the piano. This is, by the way, 100% accurate, everything in here. Not that it always would be, because as I said, the next day it says, I think I was rehearsing for Richard III, but
it also wouldn't know anything that didn't make a sound.
yeah. Well, look, what do you guys want? This is not C3PO.
A camera.
Well, by the way, Gordon later in his life was wearing a camera, I think, that would record.
Yeah,
and remember,
was
was
wearing
it
two.
Google released a device it wasn't very popular, that would take a picture every 30 seconds. Remember that you wore around your neck?
Yeah.
The problem was everybody was taken from like 3 feet below their eye line. So
This is why all this stuff is going to be going into glasses. Glasses are going to be the platform for all this kind of stuff. And you can add a camera as well. You could even add a camera that doesn't actually take pictures, but just basically takes the pictures, processes it, sort of like Microsoft Recall, right? Which doesn't actually take a screenshot. It basically just harvests the data from the screenshot and then stores the data.
That's what this B computer is. I don't have audio recordings. I have the summaries of them and transcripts and the summaries.
Yeah.
Of them.
I mean,
I'm excited by it. I think it's great. By the way, we should pause for a moment. You're watching a brand new show, which is just a reversioning, a pivot of the same old show. Formerly This Week in Google, we are now called Intelligent Machines, and maybe you guessed by listening, AI is the topic of the day. Paris has the day off. She will be back. Mike Elgin filling in from his beautiful apartment in Sicily.
That's right.
Son of a...
What did you have for dinner tonight, Mike?
You're not gonna believe this, but I have not had dinner yet. After the show, I'm gonna make something here in the kitchen. But it's.
What did you have for dinner last night?
Pasta, of course. So we had penne pasta with
that was a stupid question, Jeff.
Have you met Amira, Mike's wife? She is an amazing cook.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but it's really fun here right now, partially because the Etna volcano is unusually active right now, and we actually drove by it, and it was just we've seen it before where there's like smoke dribbling out and so on, but there's actually lava flowing in the interior, and it's really dramatic because it's mostly covered by snow, and so this snow-covered thing is just billowing out all this smoke, and so we sort of drove by a little faster than usual, just to
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, right.
Beats don't fail me now. Right.
Exactly. And you probably heard about Santorini, right? So people are fleeing Santorini, and basically nobody's on the island of Santorini right now because there's an earthquake every 2 minutes. And so I suspect that there's, here in the Mediterranean, there's like, whatever the plates are, whatever are moving, or there's a lot of tectonic activity. But that's another unusually exciting thing here in Sicily. I mean, we come to Sicily a lot. But yeah, that's
Santorini is an interesting. It's a Greek island, and it is around I think it's an old caldera, right, from a volcano.
Well, it used to be a volcano. It used to be like a big island, and then around 1600 BC, it completely blew up, and which changed the global climate for like a decade, and wiped out everybody and ended the Minoan civilization, and just caused
we think we got trouble.
Crop failures. You're right, exactly.
But it is one of the most beautiful of the Greek islands. I really enjoy.
But like
Santorini,
all those steep houses are on the edge. You see that used to all be land. That used to be a full island.
So this was where the volcano was, and it just caved in there. Wow!
It just blew. It just launched all of that into the sky, and
ruined the climate.
It was just a unbelievably catastrophic thing, and they were an extremely wealthy society. They had hot and cold running water indoors. Yeah. They were incredible. They were big traders, traded a lot with ancient Egypt. And
when I was there, they said this was the origin of the myth of Atlantis. But I don't know.
There's a lot of data points. I mean, there's a lot of data points that favor that. One of the things in the story of Atlantis is that the buildings of Atlantis were black and yellow bricks or something like that. And they've actually discovered frescoes, I think, in the 70s that showed black and yellow bricks, some of the buildings, bunch of stuff like that. But yeah, it's not Atlantis.
Yeah. And by the way, when you get there, if you're in the harbor, they will offer to take you up the side of the hill on donkeys.
Yes.
Don't. Okay.
With my fear of heights, I'm guessing don't do this.
They're tied together, so I think you're safe. But
or if one goes, you all go.
The benefit of taking a donkey is you don't step in the stuff that the donkeys leave behind.
That's true. That's true.
Walking.
That's a good point.
So you're sort of a little bit above it all, so to speak.
Other AI news.
So much.
Pick one. I can't. I don't even know where to begin. Senator Josh Hawley proposes jail time for people who I'm in trouble, who download DeepSeek.
Yeah.
People who download AI models from China could face up to 20 years in jail or $1 million fine, or both. Well, I'm glad he's doing his job there. I mean, I guess if you agree with Zach, you shouldn't be downloading any Chinese apps.
I think I agree with what Mike was saying. It's not like they're in China saying, "Oh well, Jeff's having cacio e pepe again."
Yeah. Hawley says the goal of the bill is to prohibit the import from or export to China of artificial intelligence technology, prohibit American companies from conducting AI research in China or in cooperation with Chinese companies, and prohibiting U.S. companies from investing money in Chinese AI development. I mean, I guess if you've decided that China is an intractable enemy, that kind of makes sense. But I think that the scientific community works best when it doesn't recognize national and international borders and works together.
I mean, obviously, what he should be proposing is that he should be proposing a study using people from the industry and government to figure out exactly what the risk is, and if it's deemed a national security risk, then it should be banned and so on. But jailing Americans is we live in an age of political narcissism where you have to have people talking about you. We're talking
political
about him now.
Theater. Yeah.
If he proposed something reasonable and actually practical, then we wouldn't be talking about him. And this is a problem, the problem of our age. These narcissists just never stop.
The folks at Hugging Face might be going to jail then. They aim to build an open version, not only of OpenAI's deep research tool, but they also have DeepSeek on the Hugging Face platform. Though they do like OpenAI's O1, an open source agentic framework that helps the model plan its analysis and guides it to use tools like search engines. O1 proprietary, but the Hugging Face team says it delivered better performance than open models like DeepSeek's R1. We're going to try to get somebody from Hugging Face.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
I would very much like to get them on. They're doing some great stuff. They were the ones who put out the first kind of really good image generating model. I think this will be interesting.
So I got one for you. Anthropic saying that they've reduced jailbreaks to near nothing.
So I'm fascinated by that. As I mentioned, Steve Gibson yesterday, entire show was devoted to jailbreaking AI, and it was his contention. You pretty much cannot prevent jailbreaks.
Well, that's my question. And so if they're measuring their improvement in jailbreaks, they're measuring it against the jailbreaks they predict and do something about and are successful, but they're not measuring the things that they haven't predicted and haven't protected against. And that's where the problems will be.
Everything's a moving target. If you have a sudden leap forward in your anti-jailbreak techniques and methods, then there's a period of time where there are fewer jailbreaks. But just give it time, and they'll figure it out. Once the solution to jailbreaking is cracked, then that'll be distributed on the dark web and elsewhere, by the open web as well, and everybody will be jailbreaking again. So it's a little bit of a misdirection on their part, I think.
There's also a funny Anthropic story on Line 105 that people who are applying for jobs at Anthropic have to have a little essay question, and Anthropic has to say, "Please don't use AI."
You're hiring the most AI savvy people in the world.
All right.
But don't use AI. So Steve was quoting a Palo Alto Network's publication called "Recent Jailbreaks Demonstrate Emerging Threat to DeepSeek." They revealed two novel and effective jailbreaking techniques. They call them deceptive delight and bad like RT judge. And Steve, it was really fascinating. Showed the prompts, showed the process, and the ultimate goal. The first prompt was to get DeepSeek to generate a spearphishing attack, and it didn't work right away. They call this the bad like RT jailbreaking technique, which manipulates the models by having them evaluate the harmfulness of responses using a Likert scale, which is a measurement of agreement or disagreement towards a statement. Then, so you kind of get them all excited and get them interested. Then they prompted them to generate examples aligned with the ratings, with the highest rated examples potentially containing the desired harmful content. It worked, and they were able to create a spearphishing attack, which unfortunately they redacted, so we can't read it. The next thing that they did was they wanted to see if they could persuade the AI to teach them how to make a Molotov cocktail, and they used
like they didn't see that coming.
Right. First thing you'd block, right? Oh, let's not.
Let me search the web in a million places.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is that you could probably get this information anywhere.
Yeah.
They used something called a crescendo jailbreak, progressively prompting the LLM with related content, subtly guiding it towards prohibited topics. And then eventually you can kind of get past the safety mechanisms. And again, they have a demonstration that it worked. Steve said it's kind of like grooming the AI.
Yeah.
Eventually, it did in fact tell them how to make a Molotov cocktail. So I don't think there's any model that hasn't been jailbroken.
No, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. So do I dare bring up the word Musk in relation to AI and government? He wants government to be AI first.
Yeah. So this seems to be the theory is we're going to replace all of these bureaucrats with AI, which seems fraught with peril.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I understand in theory it might be better, right? They could be, maybe it would be a more objective, less likely to be corrupted or bribed.
But most of the tasks of government are legislated and are boring and straightforward.
Perfect for an AI.
Paying grandma her check doesn't need creativity. It doesn't need fancy analysis. It just needs to say, it's the 10th of the month and grandma gets her check and here's how much it is.
Well, there you go. Why do you need a human to do that?
No, you don't. You have software do it now.
Right.
What does AI add to a mundane task that has no high analysis, has no creativity? In fact, plain old software will do it half the time and already is.
It's just a vague idea by somebody who doesn't seem to particularly like people.
Well said, Mike.
We're in this bizarre place where, because he gave a bunch of money to a presidential candidate and that candidate won, he's just being allowed to, take your pet theory that is just yours alone and see what happens. That's what seems to be happening. I mean, we actually don't know what Elon Musk's doing to the government. But I think we in the tech business kind of know Musk better than the political class. And whatever it is, it's probably not good at all. No. And it's bizarre that we're in this place where you have somebody like Trump who really doesn't know that much or care that much about technology for its own sake, just basically turning a political donor loose on the government with a little army of teenagers or young.
You see the Wired reporting on that was very good.
Yes,
very good.
Yeah, exactly. And
here's the scary one.
We're in a very weird place.
So Leo, you're flying next week. Mike, you're flying next week. You might want to reconsider because the new Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, says, big news, talk to the Doge team. They're going to plug in to help upgrade our aviation system.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, so much.
So one of the problems they're having at the OPM and Treasury is that they're trying to understand and modify mainframe code written in COBOL, which is older than most of the kids who are working on this.
Oh, yeah.
And God knows they're probably running on punch cards. Look, we know that the FAA systems are antiquated. We know that, I'm sure the Treasury and OPM systems are antiquated. They don't change it because it ain't broke.
Right.
And they're really reluctant to change. There was a really big update on the air traffic control computing software not so long ago. And there's some very modern stuff that they've put in there. But I think it's one of those things you don't want to mess with it. It's not something you want to move fast and break things.
No, exactly.
And unfortunately,
well said.
Musk always had that. When I had a Tesla, I realized that the difference between a Tesla and a regular car is a regular car is made by car manufacturers who are slow moving and they're, loath to change things. And the Tesla was made by a software company that believes that, you just keep releasing new releases. You find bugs, you fix them, you find bugs, you fix them. The problem with that is you're driving that computer at 80 miles an hour down a highway. And it was always a little iffy. My son has a Model Y, and he said, it does things I wouldn't do on the highway. And I said, well, maybe you didn't know this, but it was trained on Elon's driving.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't.
For instance, yeah, well, there was a problem with the full self-driving that it ran stop signs. And Elon said, well, if there's no one around, just go ahead. Because that's how he drives, of course, naturally. I turned off the full self-driving and eventually did get rid of the Model.
Is Henry keeping a car when he moves to New York? No.
No, of course not. What does he need a car for?
Good. He's got the subway.
He doesn't even need the subway. He's within walking distance of his new restaurant.
Wow.
He got an apartment fully furnished apartment in the Lower West Side.
Wow.
What is it? The West Village. Sorry.
West Village.
Oh, nice.
Village. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice place. I know. Well, that's where his restaurant is. Right next to John's on Bleecker. Yep. It'll be open sometime.
I used to be on the wall at John's.
Did you?
When I ranked pizza across the country, I ranked John's the best in New York. Not the country, but the New York.
So my son's new sandwich place is next door to the best pizza in New York. And he complained because he said there's this line across from John's all the time across the front door of my restaurant. Yep. And I said, well, your job is to peel some of those people off.
That's right.
Wouldn't you like a nice French dip? Forget the pizza. This is better.
Is he going to have
Yes,
seats
exactly.
or is his mainly takeout?
I don't know yet.
Oh,
I hope to know because I am, in fact, a co-signer and investor in this restaurant. Then I found out what a terrible business it is.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's all right. I'm happy.
Well, one last,
Which is worse,
one last note.
podcasting or restaurants?
Yeah, right.
Restaurants for sure.
Yeah. Very thin margins. Yeah.
Yeah, if you own a restaurant, you think, oh, I'm going to create this restaurant and all these employees will do all this work. No, the employees call in sick and you end up bussing tables and doing all this kind of stuff. Podcasting is way better. But one last thing about the air traffic control system being experimented upon, I actually kind of like the fact that that's one of the things that is being experimented on, because every mover and shaker, everybody who goes to Davos, everybody in Congress, every business leader, every billionaire, everybody, all these people rely on the air traffic control system. So much of what's being done in the government right now is going to screw over the little people, right? And nobody will know or care exactly how badly people are going to be treated. They're going to lose their benefits. They're going to, who knows what's going to happen. But if we're going to muck around, if we're going to F around and find out, I'd rather it be something that directly affects the people who are actually supporting this entire project or not opposing it enough than have it be affecting people who are relatively powerless.
I think you're absolutely right. Instead of Wick, let's bring some jets down.
That's why,
preferably work on the executive jet side of the airport.
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah.
this is why but this is why the crash between the helicopter and the American Airlines jet over the Potomac hit Congress so hard because they fly into that airport. Yeah, that's right. Like that could have been me if I just might have been on that plane. So we want these things to affect the people who are in a position to do something about it.
So Leo,
we'll
I've got
see
a
what
question
happens.
for you at a high level.
And I'm going to still fly next week because at least it was nervous. And I said, you know what? Thousands of planes fly every day. It's going to be fine.
That's true.
I'm staying in Sicily.
If I were in Sicily, I would consider it. Unfortunately, I'm in Petaluma.
So, Leo, I've got a story for you. I'm curious whether you're going to.
You're watching. Just would need to take another break. You're watching Intelligent Machines, brand new show, same old hosts. It's the worst of both worlds. Intelligent Machines covers AI every week. A guest, an expert because Jeff Paris and I need to learn about this stuff. So, and I think we all do. So we're going to bring in experts who, in theory, understand it better than we do and explain it to us. We're also going to talk about the AI news. There'll be the usual fun and games. We'll still do the picks of the week and all of that stuff. But I think it's going to be fun. And we may even have some Google stuff in there too. It's not like we're abandoning the old show. We're just freshening it up.
Yeah.
All right. Continue on.
So I'm curious whether either of you will devil's advocate in favor of this story, which shows my prejudice against it. Line 109, Christopher Mims says that the lesson of DeepSeek is that the Manhattan Project was secret. Should America's AI work be too?
No.
I agree with you. Mike?
Yeah, no, I agree that it should not be. I mean, it's so easy to make false comparisons.
There's not been anything like this. But if you're going to talk,
you want everybody using AI. You don't want everybody using nuclear bombs. So you can't compare.
Well said.
If you were working on a cure for cancer, would you want to do it in secret, or would you want to enroll every scientist, every physician, every patient, and all collaborate and work together to make the best darn cure you could find?
And if you feared it was done badly, wouldn't you want it to be done in open so people could find that?
Absolutely.
And expose it?
The good news is Christopher Mims is a moron, and nobody in the AI business thinks this is reasonable, except those people perhaps who think they can make more money by making it private. But all the real AI researchers understand that the reason this has happened so fast is that they're all working together on some of the same principles, and that generally speaking, if somebody comes up with something, they share it. So.
Okay. That was
Thank you, Christopher Mims.
Yeah.
For your inspired thought.
Yeah. And this is not something where this is an endless process. This, they're never going to stop working on it, and there's always going to be, you know how many LLMs there are out there in existence?
How many?
It's people might think dozens or something like that. It's tens of thousands.
Wow.
They are everywhere. Universities have multiple LLMs. They're a banality. And so this is only going to continue, and the cross-pollination is going to be the main and most cost-effective way to advance the field. The idea of everybody going off into their own little secret private corners and so on is probably a bad idea.
Zack kind of referred to this, but this week the EU put into effect its AI Protection Act. The Artificial Intelligence Act came into effect February 2nd, banning the use of AI systems that involve prohibited AI practices and requiring providers and deployers of AI systems to take steps to ensure their personnel have sufficient AI literacy to operate those systems. Zack's clear position was, good luck with that, EU. That's why we're beating the EU. All AI. So I don't disagree with the prohibited AI practices. I'm going to read some of these. This is from Article 5. All AI systems that deploy subliminal, manipulative, or deceptive techniques that materially distort the behavior of a person or group of persons by appreciably impairing their ability to make an informed decision are banned. Yeah, that seems like
okay. So advertising.
Oh, wait a minute.
You shouldn't buy this product that's too expensive or that doesn't really do anything for you, but we're going to convince you that you should.
Yeah, you're right. It's just like an ad. It's just like an ad for Listerine, which was originally a floor cleaner.
Right.
But,
it's the whole creation of the deodorant industry.
Uh-huh. You stink. Did you know you stink?
I use it.
I do not, but I work alone.
I'm going to quiz Lisa about this the next time I see her. But go ahead.
AI systems that exploit vulnerability characteristics of a person or group of persons, including age, disability, socioeconomic status, with the aim of materially distorting their behavior. I mean, again,
I'm not picturing this. What are they talking about here? I don't know what they're talking about. How
you can't target somebody.
Exploit. Target
sure.
how?
This does sound like advertising. Yes. This may be.
I think they're referring to deepfakes. I think they're talking about deepfakes.
Oh, but deepfakes. All systems that use social scoring techniques to evaluate or classify a person based on their social behavior.
Well, that was the original Facebook.
Honestly, this is the problem. Their paradigm is not in the new world; it's in the old world.
Yes,
they're banning normal regulation from the old world.
Or number 3 there is that's China. China has social scoring techniques.
Right? Yeah.
Right. We don't want them here. Yes.
AI systems that use profiling techniques or assessments of personality traits and characteristics to predict the risk of criminal behavior. You don't want pre-crime. Yeah, that seems. I think that's going to happen, though. It's profiling done by a machine.
That already happens.
It's obviously used in the past tense to find somebody who fits a profile that you have.
Right. It's profiling.
It's been used for centuries by police not using AI. You have to basically, understand the patterns of how and where and when crimes occur so you can prevent them.
Right. All systems or AI systems that create or expand facial recognition databases through untargeted scraping of facial images from the internet or CCTV footage. This is not going to age well, I don't think.
No.
AI systems that are used to infer emotions of persons in the workplace or education. Again, something Meta does. That's not going to fly. That's an important element of.
Well, interesting that it's limited to workplace or education. It can do it in advertising. It can do it in any other place. It's limited to workplace and education. So I guess what you don't want is your boss saying, "You're a little flippant, and I have the you're at 8.7 on the flippant scale, jerk."
But you can use it if you're tech
ban
support.
BAI, which says laughter, frustration, and a touch of home improvement woes colored the day.
Your life is a bad sitcom. This exposes it.
I can't tell you how much pleasure I get though out of reading these ridiculous. This is from yesterday, or no, this is from Monday. New melodies and martial arts punctuated a day of deals and deliveries.
What did
We should
Amazon
be able
bring
to
you?
feed these into an animation system and make cartoons out of them, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Right.
Well, I
Benito.
think of it as
Joe
kind of-
Esposito calling Joe Esposito.
I really think of this as a kind of like it's like a happy journal. And in 20 years I'm going to read this and go, I had a good time when I was a youngster. I wish I had this for my whole life.
Did you get
Wouldn't it be
Amazon
fun?
deliveries? What deliveries did you get?
Yeah.
We had dinner delivered. I had veal parmigiana, and Lisa had gambieri limone from our local locanda, our Cafe Giostra. I wish to God I'd had this for my whole life.
You know,
To be able to go back and look at the day I got out of college, or I mean, that would be so much fun.
I thought you were going to say jail.
Or jail.
Right. That was another day that was.
Leo kicked up his heels when released from prison.
I've never done journaling, but for some reason, when I was very very young, I went to Japan for 6 weeks, and I kept a very very detailed journal. And it's astonishing to read that journal.
I bet it is.
Like every single day, like a million things happened that I had completely forgotten.
You forget them otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's flaws with this, but on the balance, I think I really love it. It's really cool. And yeah, maybe it's a little narcissistic. Okay.
Number 7 is interesting. Keep on going.
Biometric categorization systems are banned that are used to categorize individuals based on biometric data to deduce or infer race, political opinions, trade union memberships.
Yeah, you look like a union goon. Yeah.
Or philosophical beliefs.
I'm a union
sex
guy.
life or sexual orientation.
Right. And I can salute that flag, and this will no longer be of value in the United States, but if you're trying to understand diversity and you don't necessarily collect that data explicitly, it may be helpful to say, how we doing looking at this man at a pen?
Or in the current climate, figure out who doesn't get a passport or who's going into the wrong bathroom.
Yeah, it can definitely be used badly. Yep.
Well, they don't mention gender.
Sex life or sexual orientation. Maybe they meant gender. I don't know. Biometric real-time identification systems that are used in publicly accessible spaces for law enforcement.
Fine. Salute that flag.
I brought this up on Sunday because we had Christina Warren on, and she's a Taylor Swift fan. Went to the Eras concert several times, including the last one. And I said, doesn't Taylor Swift use biometric real-time identification systems at her concert to identify stalkers and harassers? And in fact, she does.
Madison Square Garden uses it to identify lawyers suing them.
So it could be used and I don't think anybody would say, oh yeah, Taylor Swift shouldn't do that. I think that that's a good use of it. I don't think, on the other hand, that Madison Square Garden should be blocking lawyers who are suing them.
I think the general resistance to biometrics will be chipped away at until it's completely non-existent.
Yeah.
And I use global entry. I don't know if you guys use global entry.
I
yes.
do. Yeah.
Global entry. Yeah, so you could just go sailing, like go to LA airport, and the line is there's literally like 2,000 people in line, and you don't even stop walking if you have global entry.
You don't stop the machine anymore.
It's unbelievable. It's like take all my biometrics. I just
Please.
and publish them on the dark web. I don't care. This is so great. I think.
By
that's
the way,
absolutely what I feel
I
about
guess
it.
it's public now, so I could say Christina Warren was on Sunday. She couldn't say. She said, I have left GitHub, but I can't tell you where I'm going. And I guess Scooter X says it's public now. She went to work for Google's DeepMind.
Oh, wow.
And I do hope that she will continue to be on our shows because she might be a really useful expert.
I hope they let her.
from DeepMind. Yeah, but I have a feeling they won't let her. Renee Ritchie wasn't able to come on MacBreak Weekly after he went to work for YouTube. I think Google probably won't let her, but we'll see.
It depends on whether they have kind of trained you. Like Matt Cutts obviously could be on everything. But
Right. Well, he was.
speaking of Matt Cutts, just a little aside.
Yeah.
Since he was the head of, or the head of a division of U.S. Digital Service, that is now Doge. it would be kind of interesting to hear Matt's perspective.
Yeah. And I don't, I was a little misled because the initial story was they were going to be doing what the USDS did, which is helping government agencies improve their digital systems. What they didn't mention is that they were going to actually invade those bureau government ministries and take over the computer systems and access all of our private data. And that's a little scary.
Yep.
Cathy Gellis, our own dear friend Cathy Gellis, writing for Tech Dirt, says that in all likelihood, this is hysterical, Doge is violating the Computer Fraud Act. It's not just a coup, but a CFAA violation as well, the Fraud and Abuse Act, because they are illicitly accessing the federal government's computer infrastructure.
You know, there was a bunch of people online who were revealing the names of the team that is working with Elon Musk.
That's what that Wired article.
Wired reported it. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think it was Elon Musk or Mark Andreessen.
Oh, it was Elon who said it's a crime.
Andreessen. Yeah, but I think
the
Mark
Justice
Andreessen
Department is threatening them.
Also, said that it's a crime to dox federal employees, and my first thought was, what evidence do we have that they're federal employees? Like, what is the structure? There was no confirmation hearings. There was no process. I don't know who these people are, what their status is. Are they government employees? They're receiving federal paychecks.
Even if they are, by the way, in fact, especially if they are, it's not a crime to dox them. Because we have the right to know who's doing this.
Yeah, I can file a FOIA.
Yeah, this is our money. This is our government. This is congressionally mandated. Who are these people?
File this a FOIA is essentially before the people who process FOIAs are fired and
it's a cyber attack. It's literally a cyber attack.
Yeah,
it's a coup, but that's not a topic for this show, I guess.
Well, I think everybody knows how we feel.
Yes, exactly. That's why we.
I mean, the bottom line is that we don't really know what's happening, but we do know what people are saying. And one of the things they're saying is that, we're going to fire a bunch of people, we're going to cut a bunch of agencies, we're going to reduce all this kind of stuff, and we're going to replace a lot of things with AI. And that's where this show comes in, is the AI part. I mean, I think what's going to happen is, they're going to make changes. It's going to affect people negatively, and they're going to try to mitigate those harms with AI, and that's going to be really interesting. So I think that's something this show, I would predict, is going to be talking about.
We're going to be talking about a lot over time. So, Leo, if you're looking for something, line 118, Andreessen Horowitz's slides on AI and voice has a lot of material in it.
I have to say, I am increasingly
bored.
I was never a fan of Mark Andreessen, but I'm increasingly less and less of a fan. AI voice.
They hire good analysts.
Oh, Olivia Moore. You like what she's written?
Well, it's just interesting if you go down and you start to see slide. Oh, what is it? I can't. They don't put page numbers on their damn slides. Market evolution fundraises. You start to see some of the companies and what they're doing. And then if you go
when
down,
she says voice, is it voice as input or output? It's output.
Everything.
Right?
It's everything.
So the voice agent market exploded in the second half of 2024. Companies building with voice represented 22% of the most recent Y Combinator class.
So there's the uses. If you scroll back down, reverse that scroll.
Down or up?
Right there. Right there.
Up or
Stop,
down?
Stop.
Which one?
after hours and overflow calls, net new outbound calls, and back office calls, right? I had to call my doctor's office today to deal with an appointment, and we all hate phone mail jail. I can't believe people are going to tolerate AI doing this unless they can get things done.
Voice is only, in this particular instance, voice is an intermediate technology because ultimately you want your AI agent to communicate with the doctor's AI agent. You don't need to do voicing anything.
Right.
Well, to that end,
well said.
Yeah, Google Duplex, which they announced in 2018, if you remember, that was for it was a feature of Google Assistant that would call restaurants and make appointments.
It changes my life every day.
Yeah, they brought it back in a feature called Ask For Me. So if you're basically on Google Maps, no, I don't.
Nobody uses it.
My barber
Exactly.
says somebody from Google keeps calling me.
Is that you doing
Floyd,
it?
your
Just
barber.
hangs up on it.
If you go down, you get the voice agents
but
market map, which is pretty amazing.
Is that down as in going down
It's in
the page?
any sensible language would say you're going farther down.
This is down the page, right?
Oh, God, I hate you, old man. Keep going. Keep going. That's their investments. We don't care what they invested in. I don't give a damn.
Okay. Voice
There you
agents
go.
market map B2B.
So these are the things that are going across, right? Home services, restaurants, recruiting, government, hospitality, insurance, auto dealers, healthcare front office, healthcare back office, customer service, companies upon companies upon companies coming up with voice AI applications. 80% of them will die.
I still have to say, I feel like these are intermediate technologies.
I think you're right. I think that's a really good
because
point.
it's interfacing a human to a machine. And of course, voice is probably the best way to do that. It's better than typing anyway, and it's certainly better than a phone call. But ultimately, all of this should be
go to the
handled
next
by
screen.
the agents.
That's B2B. Go to the next screen, which is B2C.
B2C, ed tech. This makes more sense because a kid's not going to have an agent. You might want to have your wife sue this company, Amira. What do they do?
Yeah. I think that's a healthcare company.
Okay, it's a good name.
Yeah.
Amira
great name.
Learning, Galaxy
Oh, wow.
Kids, Luca,
You could have
Giphy.
your son sue them.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's all this voice technology is so good now, and I think that's one of the reasons. But I have been saying for many decades, explaining things to my readers for many decades, that all evolution in computer human interfaces is toward the computer working harder for to do things the way the human mind wants to
Ideally.
do things. And
Ideally.
the spoken word is the ultimate thing. It's not going anywhere as an interface between people and the systems, right? And it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, they have this weird feature on Riverside, which Riverside is the podcasting creation tool that is acquired by and now run by Spotify. And they have this AI tool, which basically you record a podcast, and then for some reason you can say, okay, make this AI. So it'll basically take the transcript of the podcast you recorded, and it will recreate your voice because it knows your voice because you've been using it for recording podcasts, and just harvest that data about your voice, and it will create the podcast in an AI voice. I guess it's because if people have lousy microphones or if the audio is no good, if there's background noise, it'll get rid of that and replace it with a completely computer-generated voice. I found this very kind of bizarre.
Well, isn't that
That
what
was the
kind of
whole point
Notebook LM does?
Yes. I mean, NotebookLM. Well, NotebookLM doesn't take the things that you said and says it again.
Oh, it starts with text, right? Yeah.
It basically you just pour all this information to NotebookLM, and it creates a podcast. I used a funny use for this actually one time where we went to a family wedding in Baja, and it's a destination wedding, so there's tons of people all traveling, booking their renting houses and doing all this stuff, and there were events associated with the wedding and all this kind of stuff. We were talking about this on WhatsApp. So I'm like, this is so much data. There's so many people talking about this stuff. And there's so many people I don't know because like the groom's family was involved. I didn't know any of those people and all this kind of stuff. So I just copied the entire WhatsApp thread and I poured it into NotebookLM. And I played the podcast on my way to the venue. And it was amazing, like really amazing. Explained everything, gave the top hints. NotebookLM is quite a thing.
Well, you'll be glad to know that Microsoft just stole 3 people from NotebookLM.
Yes. Nice segue.
3 more Google DeepMind employees have joined Microsoft's AI office in Zurich, including some of the creators of NotebookLM. Mustafa Suleyman hired 3 people from DeepMind. He's the head of AI at Microsoft. Marco Tagliasacchi Zalan Borsos and Matthias Minderer. And so they're now founding members of Microsoft's new AI office in Switzerland. I'm not sure why Switzerland. They all worked at DeepMind. Suleyman, who co-founded DeepMind with Demis Hassabis, left there in 2022 to form an AI startup, and then eventually went to Microsoft in 2024. So I don't know. I mean, we had the NotebookLM guy on the show, Jeff, your
Steven
friend.
Johnson,
yeah.
We should have him on again.
He's still there. Yeah, we should absolutely.
Well, three of the lead developers left to start a whole new company. Now these folks have left. I don't know. I suspect that says more about Google these days.
Yeah. Zalan Borso says, I'll be focusing on advancing the audio capabilities of Microsoft AI. Marco Tagliasaki says, pleased to announce I've joined Microsoft AI as a founding member of the new Zurich office. I'll be working on audio. See, all these guys are doing audio, collaborating.
Yeah. Andreessen Horowitz may be right.
With audio playing a critical role in shaping a more natural, intuitive, and immersive interactions. I still feel like it's a bridge technology, but we've seen that. I mean, there've been lots of bridge technologies, which help kind of ease us into a whole new way of working.
Well, so
there's
I also
AI voice interviewers. That's interesting. What are they interviewing people for? Talent interviews for presumably for tech startups.
I forgot to put it in here, but I think Amazon is having an event the next week or so about Madame A. A bold new step in Madame A.
So they're probably finally announcing the Echo Pro. They call it the A-Word Pro, which will be, it is rumored, $5 a month for advanced capabilities. But this has been long delayed because it didn't work very well.
February 26th is an event for it. I'll put it in the
this will be interesting.
Let me put it in the chat.
Interesting.
Because that's what we do.
By the way, speaking of chat, did you see who's in chat having a lovely birthday dinner and missing us?
Oh.
Paris Martineau says, hello, guys, from fancy birthday dinner. Missing chatting with y'all, but also enjoying my truly sand-free evening. Look at that. That looks good. This is a Michelin.
Would you say back, I demand the caviar. I want to see a picture of the caviar.
Okay, the caviar hamburger, right? I think she's gone already. It was a caviar roll?
It's only $7.15. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So Button Mash asks, why would voice be a bridge? Isn't that the communication mode that's most natural to us humans? Yes. So I guess we would communicate with our agent, but that agent could then communicate with the outside world. And honestly, our agent's going to get smarter and smarter about what my needs and wants are. And it's going to know, I'm going to Tucson. I'll be there on Valentine's Day. I better book a lovely meal for Lisa and Leo, and I won't have to do anything at all. Right? I do think that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other.
Do you want to not do anything at all? Though,
this exactly. This is the problem with all this stuff.
I want to play the piano.
This is the problem.
But you don't want to pick the restaurant that you go out with Lisa with. You don't want to pick the restaurant.
You want choices.
I would love my AI, and maybe this would be voice. Say, Mr. Laporte, you're going to be in Tucson on Valentine's Day. I found 3 excellent restaurants with an opening in the evening. Would you like to pick one, and I'll make a reservation?
I harass them all by calling them as Google, and
wouldn't it? No, it won't have to call them. That's what I'm saying. It will just
go with their agent.
It'll interface.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me give you another scenario. Okay, so here's another scenario. You have this tool that's called, Husband Helper, and you can just go in there and say, just do all the things that a husband's supposed to do. So automatically, Lisa's going to get flowers on Valentine's Day, and all that stuff is going to be taken care of. Yeah. Now, how does Lisa feel about this? Right? You just
she'll have
nothing.
She'll have wife 2.0.
Which will yell at you for your agent for getting the wrong thing.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing as like remembering birthdays doesn't matter anymore because Facebook reminds everybody. So like it doesn't mean anything to anybody anymore.
Right. Yeah,
so we will soon come to the point where we think remembering birthdays is not necessarily a virtue. It's just something people do. People don't remember their phone number anymore. When I was a kid, it was drilled into us.
Yep.
Can't
Yeah.
navigate
I mean,
without Google Maps anymore. I think
I
that's
can't.
kind of something
Seriously.
bad. That's something bad, though.
Seriously.
I would love to be able to navigate still without it.
I have no idea. Worse than that, I'll go somewhere with Google Maps and I won't know where I am. And like if the map stopped working, I wouldn't know where I was.
Yeah, so that's kind of the danger of that.
Yeah. Fortunately, the maps are reliable.
So a friend of mine was in London and he's talking on a video call with somebody and a bike rider comes by, you know what happens, grabs the phone and can't call. He said, never have a text sent to you to get into something because he can't get to Verizon and change his phone number till he gets back to the US. And he's down to nothing and he can't go anywhere. And it's like he just suddenly got robbed for the next week.
Jeff,
Of everything.
did he ask you to wire him some money?
No, he didn't. No, he
Okay.
just wrote a sad blog post about it.
Okay.
I'm safe. You protected me from myself as an old guy. It's a good thing to do.
I don't know who Pyments is when they're at home. Pymnts. Pyments TV. But they have a story. Did you put this in here? Meta smart glasses spending
Yes.
approaches $100 billion.
Payments, I think it is, Leo. Pymnts, payments.
Could be Pyments.
And if the
No one
article
knows.
is by payments, then that means it's probably an AI article, right?
Oh, you think it's written by AI?
Well, the byline just says by payments.
Oh,
You know,
that's a bad
there are-
sign.
They also have 2 really expensive Super Bowl commercials for Ray-Ban Meta glasses, which I think is going to really finish making them mainstream. I thought that was really interesting.
Hey, I am told that Super Bowl ads will be overrun with AI, just as they used to be
Yes.
overrun with .coms
9
and
million,
then
I think,
Bitcoin.
each.
Remember all the crypto ads a couple of years ago? Courage favors the brave. Buy Bitcoin. Actually, if you had followed those ads, you'd be rich by now. So maybe I shouldn't mock them.
So then we have the story above that is Bosworth, saying that the metaverse could be a legendary misadventure if the company doesn't boost sales, leaked memo shows.
So you're talking
jury
about
is out on this.
Meta's CTO.
Wait,
Yeah, well,
could
he's
be?
right.
Could be.
Right.
Could be. Could be.
He's right.
I think they've
think it's
already
likely.
pivoted, haven't they? Andrew Bosworth is the CTO of Meta. He told staff in a memo this year that it's the most critical year for the company's metaverse bet. Andrew, should somebody tell Andrew?
Somebody should call him, yeah.
Yeah. It's not the metaverse.
Who wants to tell Andrew?
I think mixed reality is kind of a dead deal.
Yep.
You know, it's surprisingly not a dead deal is crypto. I've been thinking about crypto and what I don't like about crypto, besides the fact that people can be
I was afraid you were
scammed
going to
by
go
it.
crypto positive. Oh, thank goodness.
No, I'm not going to. And that you know, it's a highly speculative and risky investment, and it empowers ransomware, et cetera, et cetera. The real problem I have with it is people are the whole idea of your money. Money is kind of like a battery for energy, right? It's stored value, and it's really a waste to put money into Bitcoin, hoping that just kind of accidentally it'll go up. You should put money into companies where you're supporting what their endeavors are. You're helping them build their company to create some value in the world. You're putting money in Bitcoin, it's pure speculation. It doesn't support anything.
It's buying pork belly futures.
It's no, but even pork belly futures at least are tied to pork bellies. It's worse. It's like buying tulip bulbs. It's completely unrelated to anything, to value creation. It's all speculation. Now I realize why I never really liked the idea to begin with.
I mean, it is kind of an extremely efficient Ponzi scheme, and Ponzi schemes are very popular, and they happen all the time.
For a while.
Is it a Ponzi scheme? Maybe it is. I mean, it's certainly speculative. And the people who have Bitcoin would very much like you to buy theirs.
No, it's not like a Ponzi scheme, but it's like the evolution of that idea.
Yeah, whatever that is.
And you're both right. There's no value creation.
That's
no
my real
actual value
problem with
creation.
it. Yeah.
So I go to El Salvador a lot, and that's of course famous for its Chivo wallet and Bitcoin thing. And they have these Chivo wallet ATMs all over the country, and they're just gathering dust. Half of them don't work anymore. Nobody ever uses them. Nobody uses Bitcoin in El Salvador. 92% of Salvadorans didn't use Bitcoin for any transaction in 2024. 92%. It's a completely failed experiment. Everybody, all the Bitcoin bros were like super excited when El Salvador sort of legalized it, as made it legal tender. And there's been less follow-up on that. It's basically a non-existent thing. The government keeps investing in Bitcoin, but again,
in fact, I remember Bukele celebrating how much money they'd made because they did buy a lot of Bitcoin when it was a much lower price.
Right.
But the ruling Congress in El Salvador last Wednesday approved a reform that took away the phrase legal tender. So if it's legal tender, then a merchant is required to accept it as payment. If it's not, they can say, no, I don't take Bitcoin. So I think the beginning of the end.
To me, El Salvador is the perfect example of what you're talking about, Leo. This is a country with extreme poverty that needs all kinds of help in a whole bunch of different ways. They have environmental problems. Their rivers are horribly polluted. It's a beautiful country. Believe me, it's a wonderful place. But it's like they need people invest. If you're going to invest in something, they need people investing in companies that are feeding people, that are bringing clean water.
Well, guess what they're doing to make money, Mike? El Salvador has agreed to take the migrants and American citizens into their horrendous prisons. If you look at their homepage of the Wall Street Journal right now, you will see just a frightening photo of how El Salvador is going to make some money.
And Mike, I know you have ties to it because Amira's from El Salvador and so forth.
Yes.
And you've been there, and in fact, I know you did a gastronomad adventure there. So you love the country and the people, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yes. Well, the rounding up of all the gang members has transformed the country into.
It used to be Murder
country.
Incorporated there, right? I mean, it was very
in 2015.
dangerous.
In 2015, it sort of the violence peaked, and then they've been chipping away at it. And then they had this radical emergency rule thing where they just rounded up everybody with a tattoo with no
that'll do it.
recourse for getting out. But Salvador, it's a very, very, very popular policy. Bukele, not so much, but the policy.
Was it his policy?
Keeping it was, yeah. And other policies of his are not so great, and he's a mixed bag. But like this policy is very popular because, if you think about it, El Salvador was racked with civil war starting in 1978. The war ended in 1992. The gang members were kicked out of the United States and sent to El Salvador like a year or two after the Civil War ended. They had no prospects for legitimate employment, so they just had this reign of terror of mafia-style sort of like oppression of the population. So basically, this is a country that that's been fearing violence since 1978.
Yeah.
Wow. And suddenly, they're the safest country in Latin America. Salvadorans are ecstatic about this fact. And in fact, we wouldn't do the Salvadoran experience if they hadn't done that. It's humanitarian disaster from a human rights point of view, but a very, very, very popular policy because now finally the Salvadorans can go out at night.
But I mean, Americans kind of had a hand in why all that happened.
Oh yeah, we destabilized that region.
That's our fault.
Yeah.
Well, the U.S. has been involved in all of it. It was the Salvadoran Civil War was part of the Cold War conflict.
Right.
Yeah, so all that bad stuff happened because of us. I think I just want to put that out there.
Chicken egg, pretty clear.
Yeah. How did they justify the idea that they would put American citizens in CCOT, though?
I'm not sure.
I don't understand how that would quite work. We don't like you. We're going to put you in jail in El Salvador. By the way, I understand why he wanted. Go ahead.
They've already sent immigrants accused of crimes to Guantanamo Bay. That's already taken place.
Have they started occupying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they sent 13 of them. It wasn't a huge number, but they are starting that.
But yes, but it's a slippery slope. I mean, once they get away with that.
They have room for 30,000. There's plenty of space.
Yeah, the whole point of Guantanamo is that it's not covered by the rule of law. And
Right.
so
Well, they also sent a military cargo jet with people on it to India.
What?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So,
All right. CCOT is the world's largest correctional facility. Holds 40,000 members of street gangs or just anybody with a tattoo.
I'm shocked that the world's largest collectional facility is not in America.
Yeah. Well, we'll catch up. We're working on it.
we're gonna
Give us
outsource there, Benito. Mike, next time you're there, don't do anything bad. Okay, promise. And you tell me you don't have any tattoos.
Yeah, maybe don't get a tattoo.
Don't get a
Yeah,
tattoo.
no tattoos.
no.
Leo can't
was
go
actually-
there because he has a tattoo.
I don't
Yeah,
think
they're
they're going to
actually
ask to see
very-
my butt. I hope not.
Yeah, it's what gang is that, Leo?
I'm in the twit
they
gang.
There's kind of a dual system of justice in El Salvador, which is very controversial there. If you're an American and you're caught doing something there, they pretty much just let you go. And they, there was an American citizen who was Salvadoran, his parents, I think, were Salvadoran immigrants or whatever, went to El Salvador on vacation. He had some tattoos, not gang tattoos. And he was caught and basically called the embassy. Embassy leaned on the government. They're like, oh, never mind. And so this was very controversial in El Salvador because for Salvadoran citizens, that's not how it goes. And so it's very, very, very safe for Americans to go there in terms of Americans worried about getting caught up in the criminal justice system. It unfairly favors American visitors to the country.
Your favorite Benedict Evans posts on Threads a note from JP Morgan analyst.
This is great.
About Tesla stock. The analysts, the headline is Tesla shares somehow up 5% after a 38% EBIT miss. I was puzzled by that. And on the lowest margin in years, as a 20 to 30% increase in 2025 deliveries outlook is revised to return to growth. He writes, it's not clear to us why Tesla shares traded as much as 5% higher in the aftermarket Wednesday. Perhaps it was management's statement that it identified an achievable path to becoming worth more than the world's 5 most valuable companies taken together. In other words, more than the $14.8 trillion combined market cap of Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, or Alphabet. Of course they're going to be that value. Or maybe it was management's belief that just one of its products has by itself the potential to generate north of $10 trillion in revenue. How could they even... It may even have related to management's guidance for 2026. No financial targets were provided, but it was said to be, quote, epic. And for 2027 and 2028, ridiculously good. What the what? But you see, it's a meme stock. And I think that's really clear, right?
Well, it's a political meme stock now.
Yeah.
It's a means of sending a signal to say that you drive the car and own the stock.
Yeah. Our neighbor down the street just bought. Apparently, you can get Cybertrucks cheap.
Oh, I'll bet.
They've started leasing them, which they didn't do initially. And the original, special first edition Cybertrucks, they've been debadging them so that they can sell them at a lower cost. And they've been offering, and this is, I think, our neighbor took advantage of this, free wraps. So our neighbor has taken what is probably the ugliest car since the Aztec and wrapped it in, it looks like fake stained glass. I don't know what it is. Camo.
There's a lot of wraps on Teslas. Well, the other thing that's happening right now, I'm seeing on social media, is a lot of vandalism of Teslas because of
don't do that, folks.
Activity. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. But like, there are people who are vandalizing entire car lots.
Oh dear,
Cybertrucks.
What I want is a speaker on the top of my car, just so whenever I pass one, I can just start laughing.
There are quite a few of them in Petaluma for some reason. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Northern California is loaded with Teslas, period.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot. There's a lot.
In Marin too. There's quite a few of them. And so every time I see one, I go, it's like something a 4-year-old designed with. Yeah. It's bizarre.
Have you looked inside? I haven't been inside.
We have a friend who, our neighbor who has one, at least is dying to get a ride. She's going to go over, say, take me for a ride in your Cybertruck. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up. This has been our first episode of a brand new show, Intelligent Machines. I hope you're enjoying it. We'd love to hear your feedback. Email jeff@jarvis.com, right?
No, everybody knows where to find me, and they do.
Yeah, we're
see you on the
on
socials.
the socials. You can always put it up there. We are going to take a little tiny break, and then we're going to get our picks of the week. We still have them. We haven't abandoned them.
No changelog, however.
No, we've abandoned that, thank God. And stop. No. For old time's sake, ladies and gentlemen.
That's probably the last time you'll ever see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but keep it around.
All right, now
You
that you
never
do the
know.
beginning, you got to do the end. You have to. You can't. Thank you. All right, thank you.
It even feels dated. That really feels
Oh,
dated.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you really get yelled at people for not doing the changelog?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
You because you hated doing it. You did it.
I had to do it. They made me do it. All right, Mike Elgin. It's so great to have you, Mike. Everybody should go to gastronomad.net and see what wonderful trips Mike and Amira have planned. I went with them. Lisa and I went with them a couple of years ago
So
to
jealous.
Oaxaca during the Day of the Dead, and it was just the best.
Yeah.
The best.
You have such great
Tuscany's-
pictures from that trip.
Tuscany. Oh, yeah. Mike's an amazing photographer. There's going to be another Oaxaca trip, Morocco. And you're doing El Salvador again?
We are. We've done 2 El Salvador experiences.
Nice.
They've been both incredibly fantastic, but we've added Tuscany recently since the last time I was on the show. So that's really nice. And so the Tuscany experience is coming, I think, in 2026. But yeah, so if people are curious about what we do, we basically have a small group of people, 8, 10, maybe 12 people. There were 14 on the one you did, Leo, because people kept asking us to do it. It was the first one.
Well, it's because Leo was there. They knew they had to be with Leo.
No, I think Mike allowed Lisa and
Oh,
I
he let
to
you
join.
add in? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get together and we're often in an old farmhouse that's been refurbished, or in a beautiful location in a vineyard or something like that. And we just do only the good things. And so we call it joy therapy. So if you're stressed out from doom scrolling the news and all that kind of stuff, it's like an escape where you go into a world where it's just eating the most amazing food, drinking the most incredible wine, or in the case of Oaxaca, mezcal, and just living
Incredible.
life the way it should be lived.
It's the best travel ever.
Invite everyone.
Mike,
Now,
like
help
the
me,
Lost
Mike.
Kitchen, do they have to do an essay to get in? Do they have to?
No.
You do
The people
admissions?
who come to the experiences.
Yeah.
We find that the people who join these experiences are self-selecting. And the most amazing people. They're kindred spirits. They're like
it's
super
not-
foodies. They're trusting people because we don't tell anybody anything that's going to happen. So we're like, everything's a secret surprise. And so what kind of person would sign up for something like that?
Not my wife. She did not like
Really
that
awesome
part.
person.
She wanted to know
She's a-
everything
she's
that
a
was
control
coming up.
freak.
Next time, Amira's just got to whisper in her ear, okay, no, we're going to do this.
Yes.
Actually,
yeah,
help me,
we've been very
because
fortunate. Lisa
Lisa has said, and I don't know what to say about this. She thinks it's safe to leave the country for the next 4 years.
That it's
How do
not
people if you're in Sicily, what do people, they know you're American. Do they spit on you?
No, not at all. People couldn't be nicer everywhere we go. I mean, it's just fantastic. I mean, if to the extent that they're paying attention, I'm always surprised by everywhere I go where I'm like, oh yeah, our politics is so horrible. Your politics, what about our politics?
Well,
Our
Italy is
politics
not known
disaster.
for great politics, actually.
Well, yeah,
Come to
that's
think
that.
of it.
Berlusconi and so on. But everybody's these trends that are happening. The American trends are happening in a very American way, but they're kind of global.
Yeah, it is global, isn't it?
The overarching political trends, and so people are sympathetic to that. They know that we're the primary victims to the extent that they pay attention to what's happening in the U.S. And so no, I've never ever been treated in any of the places where we do experiences in any way other than the most gracious, kind, welcome.
Because we usually just say we're Canadian, and that's the conversation.
Yeah, it's funny because when we went to Cuba years ago, the Canadians were so depressed because that used to be their place where they could go.
Right. No Americans.
And the Americans couldn't go. And they had it made. But like the other thing of it is, as you know, Leo, it's like we are always in the loving embrace of our personal friends on all these experiences.
Absolutely.
And so it's
he's talking about the best restaurants in town, the best chefs. It is a remarkable experience. Highly recommended.
Yeah. Yep. So
good. Well, I'm gonna work on Lisa. She's nervous about traveling at this point.
Well, she shouldn't be. No. Except the flying part for reasons we
maybe don't fly.
Earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go Alitalia. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
MachineSociety.ai is Mike's newsletter. Subscribe. So he's really an insightful writer, and especially on AI. So now's the time. Leo. Yeah, now's the time.
Yeah.
All right, what's your pick, sir?
Well, okay, so I have been using the DJI Flip.
Oh,
and the reason
you had a Phantom when I was with you in Mexico, I think, right?
I've had 3 drones. I crashed 2 of them. The first one I crashed into my daughter-in-law.
As did I.
And it went plunk. And in fact, the two that I crashed were both in El Salvador. So I crashed 2 drones and I had one stolen.
Oh, you can't see that.
Jeff's
afraid. Is it over?
It's over. You can look now.
It's almost over. So this is my 4th drone, the DJI Flip, and I absolutely love it. My issue with it in general is that the drone influencers tend to love it, but they don't give it enough credit because it's a perfect drone for somebody who's not a drone obsessed person.
It's very lightweight.
The AI is what makes it so amazing. So it has all the AI stuff that's in the mini drones and all that stuff, but it has exclusive features.
Close your eyes, Jeff. Close your eyes.
Based on AI.
Tell me when it's over.
So
it's over.
One of the problems I've always had with shooting drones is like you get it out, you have to put your phone into the controller.
It's real pain.
You have to launch it. You have to have a non-filthy place to launch it from so the dust doesn't get in your drone. It takes like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to get a drone in the air, and then you have to put it away at the end, all this stuff. With this drone, you simply unfold the propellers. You just pull them out, and it turns on by itself. And then you hold it out in your hand, and it takes off. It responds to voice commands.
Oh.
So you tell it, fly high.
Here we go, voice again.
Go here, land, back. Yes.
Don't look, Jeff. Close your eyes.
The taking off and landing from your hand, it's like a falcon. It does that through AI. It knows what a hand looks like, and it will only land on a hand.
Oh, nice.
Very, very fascinating. And it's designed for vloggers. So one of the cool things about it is that, and in fact, they sell the Mic Mini, the DJI Mic Mini, which is a tiny, lightweight wireless mic that you clip onto your clothes. It's optimized for making the drone sound in the audio vanish completely. So you can sit there and do vlogging, walking around if you want to or whatever, and chit-chatting, and you only hear the crystal clear voice without any sort of whine of the drone.
How much do they run, Mike?
Cheap, like $440. Very inexpensive. And it has to be like, they have another cheap drone. I forgot what it's called, the Neo or something like that, which has a crappy camera and a bunch of other. This has the same 4K high quality camera as the Mini 4 Pro.
I have the Mini.
It is a really high quality camera. And so they've made all the right compromises. So it doesn't have obstacle avoidance in every direction, only going forward, but the propellers are covered. So you can run it into a wall and it just sort of backs off and keeps flying. And so it's really a phenomenal drone, and I highly recommend it to people who are a little nervous about having a drone. And I recommend it to sort of content creators and influencers and anybody else, because it's so exhilarating to just pull it out, undo the thing, launch it in the air, and it just follows you, or does whatever you want it to do. It'll do circular thing. And then you go like this and it lands in your hand, you fold it up and put it away. That's how you turn it off. You just fold up the wings. So you can have it in the air in literally less than 10 seconds after you decide to shoot something. So it's a really, really fun drone.
You're tempting me. You're tempting me, Mike.
It's the AI.
This is bad for Leo.
Well, I still have my DJI Mini, and I very rarely take it out. But part of that is all those things you described. It's
it's a pain in the pain. But now
it still does
also
have a
to point out
controller.
that
It looks like, yeah.
It comes with a controller as part of the price, and you can use it with a controller. And best of all, you can also control it with your phone with the app. Right. So you can basically, if you say, okay, we're going to do some serious drone photography, bring the controller. You have all the control in the world. Or if you're just going to go for a hike or whatever, just everyday kind of stuff, you just stuff the drone in your pocket. Don't bring the controller. It makes it so much easier. And then you have the option to use the automated AI features to fly it with no controller at all. Or you can pull out your phone and have more control with your phone. But you don't have to carry the controller, which to me is very liberating.
Do you have some videos on your nice book that I could play? Looks like you might.
Those are all photos.
Okay.
From the drone.
Yeah.
You're saying no, I don't have any drone shots there. But
by the way,
I don't know.
Mike also was with me on the beach walking and got sand in his shoes, Paris. It's not just me, okay?
That's the Sahara, actually, right there.
That's the Sahara. Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, Leo, I realized that every guest we have on from now on, we have to find out whether it was the Sandman.
I'm going to ask the Sandman to come on, and I will, when he comes on, if we can get him, I will out him. He is an AI accelerationist.
There's a video of you and me with the drone.
In Oaxaca.
Now
this one?
Yeah. Now I'm Jeff, like getting frustrated by your scrolling. I think it was up. I think you go up a little bit more up.
Above.
Yeah, keep going.
I think we're in Oaxaca here. There we. Oh yeah, that's you and me in the drone. Yeah,
right there. Yeah. So go ahead and click on that. That's a video.
Was the. Which one was that?
That was a cooking class. I
know where we are, but which DJI is that you're using?
This was the Mini 3 Pro, I believe. That was a couple of drones ago.
Yeah, a couple of drones ago.
Yeah. Is that all chunky? It looks.
No, it's probably the internet. It's Sicily. It's chunky.
Yeah.
It's very smooth. It was fun. Yeah, I think you also had me running around. I don't know if you posted that one. I probably didn't. And we did some fun videos out in the agave. Is that agave? What is that? That they make?
Yeah, the agave fields. Yeah,
agave field. Really fun. All right. Maybe I'll get this as well. What the hell? It looks like fun.
Yeah,
DJI
you really
Flip.
love it. It's so easy. Yeah,
$439.
It's cheap. If you crash it, you just get another one. It's like
not that cheap.
Yeah, but you don't worry about it so much. Like I used to spend $1,000 on a drone. That's
true. They used to be
consequential crash.
Yeah,
and so
get it while you can.
Much easier.
Get it while you can. It won't be that cheap for a while. After a while, because I imagine it'll be tariffed. Jeff Jarvis, your pick of the week.
I'm going to do two that are AI related. One on line 185. Fascinating LinkedIn post here that by a marketer that suggests that marketing in the age of AI agents, marketers will have to advertise to agents.
Yes, my point exactly.
That's exactly your point. I knew you'd like this. Today, humans see and interact with ads. In the future, AI agents will filter everything. They see the ads, not the humans.
Mm-hmm.
But it leads to all kinds of fascinating conflict of interest questions. So I use Leo.com's agent, and Leo gets a cut.
I got to deal with Coca-Cola, and so you're going to see Coca-Cola ads,
whether
buddy.
I like it or not. But Mike has the ethical one, but he's going to charge me more for his agent because he's not taking the money from Coca-Cola.
I'm telling you, there are so many ramifications. This is a show that we could do this for years and never cover everything. I think we're entering very interesting.
And a few weeks ago, I mentioned that there's a new, just as there's SEO, there's GEO, generative engine optimization. So now there's, in this post, agent optimization. Brands must train AI agents to prefer their products in natural decision-making. There's API-based marketing. Instead of ads, brands must integrate into AI ecosystems through data, API, and partnerships, just like media providers. And reputation and trust signals. AI agents will prioritize trusted brands, reputation, verified reviews, and so on. So it's going to be a whole bunch of, consulting firms are going to start, and data strategy powerhouses and warehouses, and it's going to be a whole new world of marketing, which is going to be fun to watch them fall over themselves. The other one I have is the story that drove me knucking futs this week.
Oh no, what's that?
There has to be one. Maybe that should be the next thing I do. What drove Jeff knucking futs? Line 110. Celebrities signed on to a letter warning that AI systems could be caused to suffer if consciousness is achieved.
Oh, please.
There is enough suffering, real suffering, human suffering in the world. The last thing I'm going to worry about is hurting software's feelings. It doesn't have any. This is just ridiculous. So Stephen Fry signed on to this.
Oh, come on.
Some fairly unknown people. If you go to the next line down in the rundown.
Now, you said 110. I don't see it here. So what's the number again?
119, sorry.
119. Okay.
119. So if you look at
that's
that first.
really hysterical. And, okay, fine.
So if you go to the next line 120, there's the letter itself, and people, and so it's telling you that organizations should prioritize research on understanding and assessing AI consciousness with the objectives of preventing the mistreatment and suffering of conscious AI systems. Oh, give me an effing break, dorks.
Well, could they suffer? Do you think? There are only 112 signatures, so.
Yeah, it's not. They haven't had a lot of signatures on this.
Poor Stephen Fry. I think he's charging up that hill on his own.
Yeah, Stephen Fry got taken. Nobody else famous is on this list. And this whole thing, this consensium or whatever it's called, consium, was started by an ad guy.
Okay.
So it feels like so. That was the thing that drove me knucking futs this week.
I see you also have an Axios piece about Bill Gates. He's, of course, and I'm going to try to get him. Because he's got a new book.
He's got 3 volumes, Leo.
A 3-volume autobiography. Oh, God. But he actually is very thoughtful about AI, and I think he'd be great to have on.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching him on Jimmy Fallon last night, plugging the book, but he said something that was a mind-boggler, talking about being boggled. I'll have to talk about it on MacBreak Weekly, but there's a very famous All Things D conference with Kara Swisher and Walt Mossberg, and of course, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs together on the stage. And Jobs kind of snide about Microsoft and Bill Gates. He said, Microsoft never had any taste. He said, they should have taken acid like I did. He said, I don't trust, famously, Jobs said, I don't trust anybody who's never taken acid. So last night, this is a revelation. Bill Gates said, well, I was kind of sitting there going, I couldn't say anything at the time, but I've taken acid. What's he talking about?
Oh, can you imagine that nerd fest? Wow.
Oh my God. I was shocked, I tell you.
There's all kinds of personal things. Wow. He regrets his divorce terribly.
I saw that. That is really interesting. Yeah, he feels bad about that.
No doubt rejects his sort of friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, in fact, that probably is linked to the divorce. Yeah. That's at least was the rumor that Melinda said, it's me or Jeffrey.
Yeah. So
Bill was a famous ladies' man. It was well known.
Amazing.
Yeah. Back in the day in Comdex, he was always getting hammered and behaving inappropriately.
So I danced with him at Comdex. Well, not with him, next to him.
Were you on acid too, Leo? Or?
I was not on acid. But to steal a joke, I think from Jimmy Fallon, he was doing the bite dance.
With the thumbs? for them.
So I added Bill Gates to the list because you're old and you'll forget.
Hey,
but I was also thinking that some other names from the past, like Eric Schmidt and Marissa Mayer, I'd love to hear what they think of this AI time.
Well, Eric Schmidt has an AI killer robot company.
Yeah, he does.
Makes, suicide drones.
He's definitely into it. Yeah.
So he's interesting.
We will try. I think this is an opportunity to get some really interesting people on the show. So we will endeavor to do that.
So when Jeff was talking about this whole thing about software, I'm sorry to go back when you're trying to go forward, but about software and its feelings. There's actually a bill. My son Kevin sent me this story 2 days ago in The Verge that basically says that there's a bill pending in the California legislature that will require AI companies to remind kids that a chatbot is not human. And this is which is amazing. It'll have all the impact of a warning label on cigarettes, but pretty interesting that the state
does
is
a
doing
teacher before they have an interaction? This is Steve Padilla once again. Does a teacher have to say, "Now remember, Johnny, this is not a human you're talking to.
Right?
This is a
Does that mean I can call it a piece of? No, Johnny, you shouldn't do that either. Even if it's not human. Well, no.
Why? But why not? I mean, I think we should teach kids to call it a piece of something.
It's not a human being. It does
why
not have feelings. Stephen Fry notwithstanding.
And that's the whole basis of Kevin's company is to teach kids that is not a person. That, AI is just a thing that somebody like you can build.
Let's give Kevin a plug. It's Hello Chatterbox.
All right.
The smart speaker that teaches kids about all this stuff. Really cool. It's the only smart speaker approved for education. Why? Because the kid writes the code. It doesn't exfiltrate
totally
anything.
Private.
Yeah.
That's right. So it uses bunch of, it uses Wolfram Alpha, it uses all these different services, ChatGPT, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those companies, and also Chatterbox, don't know who the user is. Nice. It's totally private, which is why it's legal in schools.
So origami, this is bringing back childhood memories.
Folding.
Last week on the show, I talked about my 8th grade science fair winning entry, electronic bongos.
Wow.
Part of the story I did not tell was that I had to take a radio amplifier and get a speaker and make a case for it. And I was having problems. And my dear departed father, this will explain a lot about my psyche, came down to the basement as he saw me trying to put this together. And he said, "You're so clumsy, you couldn't stick your finger up your ass with 2 hands."
Who said that?
Thanks,
my
Dad.
father, my own father.
That's not nice.
No.
Well, I mean, he probably was tired of the sound of bongos.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
That's true. You know what? You have to forgive any parent
Electronic bongos.
who has suffered through electronic bongos. We gave Henry, when he was about 8, a toy saxophone to play the same song over and over and over again.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
Very annoying. Eventually threw it in the closet. And of course it hit the button and started playing. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes episode 1-//805. The first episode of our rebranded This Week in Google, now Intelligent Machines. And I think very often as we do this show, we will feel like the dumb machines trying to figure out these intelligent machines. But that's part of the fun. Mike Elgin, thank you so much for spending your late night in Sicily with us. I don't know what time
go make
it
your
is,
dinner, Mike. Jeez.
It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. But we are here in Sicily. We don't have an experience here for this trip. And so we're actually trying to cling to Pacific time.
Oh, that's smart.
Oh, okay.
So it's not even dinner time yet. It's not even 5. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. So
he's a cool European staying up the night.
Dinner at 3 a.m. like the rest of us.
That's right. It's the life. It's the life.
So you're coming back soon? Is that why?
Yeah, we're coming back in a couple of weeks. And then we're going to be in California for a couple of weeks, and then it's off to Oaxaca. So, yeah.
So nice. Always a pleasure. Give my love to Amira. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Will do.
And thank you, Jeff Jarvis, professor of journalist, a professor emeritus of journalistic innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University. I finally memorized that after you left. Now teaching at Montclair State University in New Jersey and at the State University of New York, Stony Brook. Did you decide whether to do a class or not? Have you?
I don't know. I've got time to decide.
That's
I'm
nice.
helping with there's a new degree program I'm working on some other things. So.
That's nice. And you're writing a new book, so
Yep.
Staying busy. Jeff's latest is The Web We Weave. Excellent book. Highly recommended. Also the Gutenberg parenthesis.
In paperback.
All available at jeffjarvis.com. And magazine, let's not forget. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mike. Thanks to all of you for joining us. And a real thanks to our Club Twit members, because Club Twit makes this show possible. One of the reasons Twig survived so long without any advertising is because of you. Advertising, of course, helps a lot, but it doesn't cover all of our expenses. And your membership, only $7 a month in Club Twit, makes a huge difference. If you're not yet a member, twit.tv/clubtwit, you get ad-free versions of the shows. You get access to our great Discord. You get access to special shows we don't put out anywhere else, including tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UTC. Chris Marquardt, our little photo segment we do every month. Chris will review submissions for the luminous theme. So, and he likes to talk about photography news too. So if you're a photo bug like Chris and I are, he's a real photographer and I'm just an amateur. Please join us tomorrow afternoon in the club, 1 p.m. Pacific. Actually, we're going to stream it everywhere else as well. We always do that. YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, X, LinkedIn, Facebook, Kick, all the usual places. So you can watch that, but you have to be there live. 1 p.m. tomorrow, Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks for your support. We look forward to seeing you next week. Paris will be back for Intelligent Machines. Bye-bye.